To order. Ms. Ray, would you call the roll, please?
Council President Suzanne Souter.
Present.
Councilperson Joseph Day.
Here.
Councilperson Nerman Zubaka.
Here.
Councilperson Andrew Zelt.
Here.
Councilperson Brian Mataway.
Here.
Also present, Mayor Valerie Leary, City Administrator Antonina Tantillo, City Treasurer James Wisman, Chief of Police Richard McCabe, Building Official Jeffrey Bergstrom, and City Solicitor Michael Hoffman.
Thank you. So this is the hearing on ordinance 562 regarding changing the time frame for setting hearings before the Board of Adjustment. If anyone here wishes to comment on that ordinance, please come to the podium, sign in. As the usual rules for a regular meeting, you have 3 minutes.
It doesn't matter. We were part of the Michael. So. Once there are factors, I think here, or a small town, it's probably like the whole concept. Yeah, I've seen. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's. Yeah, I think parallel, what's the wrong? Okay, how long do you go? I'm actually
562 as part of the public hearing. Hearing none, is there a motion to adjourn the public hearing? A second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, and now I'll call the regular meeting to order, and we'll begin as usual with the pledge of allegiance.
Flag of the United States of America. Give your for which it is one nation, under God, indivisible.
Mr. Hoffman, since the same people are here as we're here for the public hearing, do we need another roll call? Okay, so we have a full council, we have a quorum, we'll proceed with the regular meeting. And seeing as we have some visitors and it's a full night, we're going to advance the first item of new business to this point in the meeting for the proclamation regarding our Little League, and Mr. Madaway is going to read that for us.
Good evening. Resolution 2026-19. Resolution to celebrate Newcastle Little League 60th anniversary. Whereas in 1966, Lyndon B. Johnson was the president. The average cost of gas was 31 cents per gallon. The Beach Boys were making hits, and the Newcastle Little League was just getting organized. And whereas the Newcastle Little League formed to fill a void, to be an extension of community for children, parents, families, and friends, as they congregate around America's pastime sports, baseball and softball. And whereas NCLL's vision is to be a model Little League program in Delaware by providing development-focused coaching, safe facilities, opportunities for all children to participate, and meaningful connections amongst families and the greater Newcastle City community at large. They seek to inspire players to become confident young leaders. And whereas playing sports is associated with lower rates of anxiety, substance abuse, and other negative behaviors, while increasing cognitive performance, creativity, self-esteem, and physical health amongst a host of positive attributes. And whereas 95% of business leaders believe their youth sports experience was crucial in their professional success, and over 80% of Fortune 500 female executives played sports as children. Whereas the Newcastle Little League is not just an organization, it is rather an institution that has remained steadfast and highly effective for decades by tutoring thousands of young ladies and young men who have gone on to become change agents in society by instilling life lessons such as integrity, inclusion, love of community, teamwork, and some good old-fashioned fun. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the City of Newcastle is proud to recognize, salute, honor, and support all the players, parents, grandparents, families, coaches, volunteers, umpires, donors, and trustees who have given their time, treasure, and talent in furtherance of this vital condition of life. Congratulations on your 60th anniversary and many more. You are Newcastle's past, present, and future. Forever Newcastle strong, and forever Newcastle true. Staff would mind this coming up, and they're joining us. We get a picture with all the council.
Okay, before you do that, is there a motion to approve this resolution? The second, all in favor? Aye. For the city's
sponsorship of the juniors team last year.
Thank you. You want to show one finger? You like one finger all? Or six, you do six.
We got some big hair.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Hi, girl. How are you guys?
Thank you very much.
No, they play softball. They're high five strong.
We'll resume our normal sequence of the agenda. Mr. Hoffman, I have a question for you. The only thing on the agenda is the minutes of the February 10th regular meeting. We also have minutes from the March 4th special meeting. Can we deal with those now, or do we have to wait till they've been on the agenda?
I'm struggling today.
Sorry.
There we go. You can handle them both. It does say, I did just check. It said, it does list just February, but the item is a standing item for minutes.
Because
It's a
it's
standing item
plural.
for minutes.
Okay, great, thank you. So, we'll deal with the February 10th regular meeting first. Are there any comments or corrections or additions to the minutes? I found two things on page 4, under Chief McCabe's report. I'm not sure, it says, the sentence reads, advocates of the waiver have indicated they feel this is akin to a debtor's prison, while proponents argue that philosophically they are asking those who abuse the system to help pay for the system instead of putting the burden on taxpayers. I think the second one should be opponents instead of proponents. Is that your intent, Chief?
Just that one sentence on the budget.
Okay, as it's written, it says advocates. This is about the House Bill 133. Advocates of the waiver have indicated they feel this is akin to a debtor's prison, while what's written is proponents argue that philosophically they are asking that those who abuse the system help pay for the system instead of putting the burden on taxpayers. So I think you meant opponents of the waiver, right?
I think.
Yeah, so,
But the,
yeah, so what the concept is there, that the countering thought is that we don't support this bill because the people that abuse the system or use the system.
Okay. So you mean proponents of the bill?
Yeah, it shouldn't be proponents of the bill.
That's what I wasn't clear what this meant then.
Yeah, they're not opponents of this bill then.
Right.
Yeah, those that oppose this bill.
Those that oppose this bill. So maybe that's what we should make it. After the semicolon, it should say, while those who oppose this bill argue that, etc. Does that accurately reflect your intent?
That's it.
All right, thank you. And then on page, oh, that's in the other set of minutes, never mind. Is there a motion to approve the February 10th minutes as corrected? A second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the minutes of February 10th are approved as submitted with correction. And minutes of the March 4th special meeting, the mid-year budget review. Are there any corrections or additions to those minutes?
Only one on page. 10, right before this, top of the second motion, the last sentence starts with the consensus of council was to move 1 million from the unrestricted fund balance into the existing capital improvement fund and establish a capital fund sweep account. I don't think we talked about capital fund sweep account, but just regular unreserved sweep account. It was just a capital sweep account. Okay, never mind. I thought it was just general sweep account.
Okay,
And another item we just spoke about.
right.
Okay.
Okay, anyone else? I have one on, this is a really little one. On the first page, under Ms. Tantillo's summary, the third bullet point, it says a $50,000 property tax transfer was received. My understanding that 50,000 represented multiple. So instead of A, just say 50,000 in property tax transfers was received. Okay. Is there a motion to approve these minutes subject to correction, as corrected? Okay, a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? One abstention, okay. And Mr. Wisman?
Yes, ma'am. I have my assistant here turning my mic on. We're in darn good shape. Our total finances right now, we have $12,683,000 in one form or another, mostly cash, various accounts. And we're 67% of the years through, but we've collected 86% of our revenues. So our revenues, our total revenues are budgeted at $7,598,646. And we've collected 86% of that. Meanwhile, over on the expenditure side, our expenditures are going to be same as the budget, $7,598,646, but we have only expended 55% of it. So the revenues coming in as far exceeds the expenditures going out. Plus, we have adequate reserves if there were shortfalls here and there, which I don't anticipate. So right now, the total revenues that we've brought in, or the total expenditures that we have expended for the year, is $4,193,803, which tells me that we have another $3,400,000 of expenditures. But as I mentioned, we had $12,683,000 in the bank accounts, and we've got revenues to come in. So I would say my summary of this whole issue is that we're in darn good financial shape for this point in our time.
Thank you, Mr. Wisman. Any questions for Mr. Wisman? Is there a motion to approve the report subject to audit? Second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Minutes are approved. Thank you. Treasurer. Report from the city administrator.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I wanted to provide an update on the details for Winter Storm Fern that happened in January. We have received the final invoices from Swallow Brothers. As you recall, they assisted us with the cleanup and the snow removal. The total for that was $211,605. This included 8 days of assisting with cleanup and the associated equipment, personnel, and traffic control. The equipment varied from day to day, but included at least a loader per day, up to 11 Bobcats each day, up to 9 dump trucks each day, and up to 3 traffic controllers per day. In addition to that, included the employees associated with the operation for each of the pieces of equipment, and it was no small feat. As shared at the city council meeting, we currently had a budget of $9,000 for salt and snow and ice removal and related contractors for FY26. Of course, this will only cover a small portion of this year's snow and ice control expenditures, but please be assured that we do have the funding to cover the excess costs associated with this storm via the municipal street aid funding, as I mentioned at the last meeting. It is state of Delaware funding provided to municipalities for street improvements. And street improvements include the removal of snow and ice and the laying of materials for traction. As of December, we had $688,016 in our MSA restricted account. We're using some of the funding for street improvements such as ADA ramps and paving this fiscal year, but of course, there's plenty left to allocate for the snow and ice removal from the storm. For your reference, this year, we received $113,654 in MSA funds. I did reach out to the governor's office to see if there was any additional state funding or federal funding that was available to support this storm cleanup, but unfortunately there was not. During the month of February, we dealt with Winter Storm Fernando from the 21st to the 23rd. Public Works staff was supported by MSC to maintain and clean up the city during and after the storm. Thankfully, the storm was much different from the January storm and did not leave us with all of the ice that we dealt with. And we did not have to spend additional funds for snow removal with this storm. This storm does have the potential to have a major disaster declaration from the federal government statewide, and we're working with the county to request funding and support from FEMA. As soon as I have additional updates on whether or not we will receive those funds, I will certainly provide an update. I have a few grant updates. The ORPT funding award, which I announced a month or so ago, in the amount of $190,000 was awarded for the Delaware River Trail. The application was for $342,982, and we will need to match the same amount. We discussed this last week at the mid-year budget review meeting, and we'll proceed with the agreement. Additionally, I have applied for many grants to provide that match, such as the telecommunities grant, and I will be applying for other grants that I'll talk about later in my report. Also, at the last meeting, I announced that we were awarded the Federal Safe Streets for All Planning and Development Grant to develop a safety action plan and demonstration project in the amount of $435,870. The project will require an applicant match in the amount of $108,967. We again spoke about this last week at the mid-year budget review, and we'll proceed with the agreement, and we'll continue applying for additional matching grants. I'm still awaiting a response on the State Historic Preservation Grant for the first round of funding for the FY25 grants, and that was for the Buttonwood School and Dalvinsville historic designations. I'll hopefully hear back from that sometime soon, and we're going to proceed with the second application this month for preservation effort in recognition of America 250. During this past month, I have applied for congressional directed spending with Congresswoman McBride's office for the Delaware River Trail. I have also applied for the AARP community grants for 2 projects. The first was for funding for the dog park, for support items like water fountains, equipment, planting of additional trees and such. And the second is for the Delaware River Trail. I also submitted a letter of interest to the Delaware Community Foundation for the Healthy Communities Grant for the Delaware River Project. I was notified that the letter of interest was accepted and we have been invited to apply. I think they said there were 200 applicants that were invited to apply, so it'll be a big feat to apply for this grant, but we'll be submitting that grant in the coming weeks. And there are a lot more grants that are due around this time, including the TAP grant, Highmark Blueprints for Community grant, and then the congressionally directed spending for Senators Coons and Flint Rochester, along with the bond bill. So a lot more information is to come. Regarding city projects, we have APS and Sperlo Brothers continuing to work on their curb repairs. I'm awaiting the timeline for the Dalvinsville basketball court installation, but that should be done sometime this spring. Regarding the dog park fencing, we did have some more delays because of the melting of the snow, the mountains of snow at the dog park area. So we had a contractor come out last week, and we'll have a couple more come out, and then we'll have those quotes sometime soon. And then the playground itself, we may have some delays with installation just because of the production of the equipment. And I don't want that to hinder the summer and the availability of the playground in the summer for the children to come and visit the park. So we're working on that timeline and waiting to hear back on when we can expect to receive the equipment, and then put the installation and everything else around So more information to come as it comes through. And that is the end of my report.
Thank you. Any questions for Ms. Cantrell?
Just one moment. In the back row, everybody in the back row, can you hear okay? Yeah, okay, they can hear it, Mr. Demundi. Everybody can hear. I'm sorry you didn't hear it, but everybody else can hear. Just wanted to make sure they were here.
Thank you. Chief?
Good evening. To be brief, if there are no questions on the budget report, the only thing that I wanted to point out was, the numbers are a little lower than usual. I think that I'll have to do it better, so, crash data is down, again. But what remains constant is the primary cause of these accidents are distracted driving. So in April, we're gonna have a month-long campaign funded by OHS with extra control to address, distracted driving, cell phone use, stuff like that. So you should see some extra cars out for that. I did want to touch base. We talked about House Bill 133 during the minutes. I just wanted to touch base. I know I had a homework assignment to get some emails out with a breakdown of how we spend that. That's coming for sure. One thing I learned today was that the money, $5 or $6 million that was put into the GRB, and this was kind of figured out by doing some math. Folks that are tracking this, that would only cover costs from a state perspective, not from the municipal perspective. So that's something to consider when we're having these discussions about whether or not this bill is that here or not. So I wanted to put that on your radar, and then again, certainly get the email out to outlining how we use that money. Last Saturday, we were part of the attack addiction run. We had no issues. I think we were up to close to 2,500 was the enrollment registration. So it went well. I got over the place, which is first. So I know it's challenging for residents, but I think between the help we got with Goodwill, DelDOT, and our folks, I think we were pretty smooth. So. And then the last thing I wanted to bring to your attention is the annual report's completed. I should have it sent out within the next week or so.
Thank you. Any questions for the chief?
Just a clarifying question around GRB line that you mentioned being 5 to 6 million and only state portion. Do you mean this would only go to state troopers and not go to county and municipalities? Or can you just talk more about that? Because last meeting we were talking about, I thought the number was lower around 4, but I thought it was trickling down to municipalities.
So it's not outlined in the GRB, but some folks that are tracking it did some math and said, trying to figure out what the impact would have, that number matched potential impact that the state would feel, not municipalities. So even though it's not been described, that's a concern that we have, and it's something we're certainly going to have a discussion about. But I just thought it was important to put that on your radar because there is there is that potential. So,
are you able to work the number that would go municipal, local side that I could communicate, or we could communicate to the?
Yeah, so what I heard was several million. We don't have an exact number.
Mm-hmm. In addition to the current allocation. Thank you.
I did forget one thing.
Okay, sure.
We didn't do this last year, but we've done it in the past. The National Take Back Initiative is scheduled for April 25th between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. So I've applied to register our police department as a site for drop off, and I just we're going to obviously put this out on Facebook, and we're going to have some more outreach on this. But in a nutshell, it's an opportunity for residents to dispose of medications that are no longer necessary. It does not apply to syringes, sharp objects, or obviously illegal drugs. We'll have somebody there collected. It's anonymous. You walk in, you drop it, and then obviously we'll turn it into the DEA. I'm sorry, I think question.
No, I just wanted to make sure I understood correctly about House Bill 133. I think I'm hearing that it sounds like it's a greater impact on the state than on the municipalities if it passes. Is that right?
No, I think, well, proportionally, no, I think, you know, the concern is that it appears that the GRB, the number in the GRB is focused on whatever impact would have on the state. So I would say proportionally, no, I mean, it's $6 million compared to $70 million to us, but they do get a larger chunk of this because they are funding salaries of 20 troopers.
So basically, we don't know a whole lot more than we knew last month.
No, except for that one concern, is that this may, you know, that whatever money's put in the GRB, that would offset any kind of impact. Does not appear to be, the money's not in the pipeline from municipalities. That's the appearance. So, again, I'm throwing this on your radar in the event that you do have these discussions. It's certainly something we want to look sure. And to be quite frank, I don't think anybody really can predict or understands what the impact is going to have, so.
I guess like a funny question, but for the pill drop off, I bring pet meds.
Yeah, sure. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Bergstrom, did you have anything for us tonight?
Nothing to add, not in the report.
All right, thank you. Okay, council communications, we'll start with Mr. Day.
No report.
Mr. Bell?
Just two items. So, we're getting closer to May Market, for Arisafa. May 1st, May 2nd, get your flowers. If you have stuff for home treasures, anything you have in your house that you don't want any, someone else may would like to have, if you could drop that off on April 30th at the Arsenal, we greatly appreciate that. Second scenario is Meals on Wheels. I need drivers. We have so many Meals on Wheels routes in our area that need drivers. If you want to be a substitute or to pick up a permanent route, please talk to me and we can get you signed up.
Thank you. Mr. Zabaka?
Council President, good evening, everybody. First, I want to just congratulate all women in our lives on International Women's Day. Just was on the 8th of March. Hope everybody was able to enjoy nice weather, treat especially. I do also hope you get treated especially every single day, but you know, hopefully there was an extra chocolate that day in your, you know, on a table or something, flowers. I mentioned this in a budget meeting last week. I encourage our residents 50 years and over to look into Osher Lifelong Learning Institute. They operate in several cities in Delaware and offer in-person and virtual classes. So just something I'll bring to Board of Health with a new budget season to figure out some sort of potential vouchers. But in general, I think, you know, something to explore and, you know, stay, you know, keep the wellness, both physical and mental, up and learn some new things. I wanted to say happy St. Patrick's Day. This is coming up. Anybody celebrate? I hope you can be, Chiefs is going to appreciate this, be responsible, whatever you do. To everybody celebrating, happy Ramadan, and also happy Eid coming up next Friday. So hopefully you get to, you know, celebrate some good food and family and friends, and happy Easter. I wasn't sure if we can honor the fallen soldiers in the last couple of days with a minute of silence.
Okay, thank you. We'll have a moment of silence. Madam.
Thank you, Council President. First, I would like to turn to my left and thank Councilperson Zubaka. A number of months ago, he brought to the city's attention the economic power of the World Cup. And he was ahead of the curve because a few months later, I saw that Wilmington is hosting the Ivory Coast. And the state jumped on board, and they're having a number of host parties throughout the state, and recognizing how much money, attention, tourism, et cetera, that could bring to the state. So I'm hoping some of those people will find their way to the city of Newcastle. Thank you for that vision. Last year, we had the health fair, and there was a great organization called the Delaware Breast Cancer Coalition that we were able to partner with. And later on this month, on March the 28th, from 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. At the Newcastle Library on Delaware Street, they are hosting a community-focused research conversation on breast cancer. There's a doctor who's going to be in the house, and he's going to be answering questions, talking about he works with teams across sectors, including local and state governments, academic partners, to address social and behavioral determinants of health-related cancer screening, diagnosis, and interventions. There are some of these pamphlets that are in the back. We'll be sure to get them posted. Earlier this month, I had an opportunity to attend a Newcastle County Town Hall with two Newcastle councilpersons. Our councilperson, Kevin Koneko, and David Carter, who's a native Newcastilian, but doesn't serve our particular district. And it was a very good conversation. They talked about a host of different issues. Councilman Koneko provided a frequently used phone number list. And I took some of those pamphlets with me that are also in the back. To just talk about the county and all the different services and variety of different numbers and contact information that are available to us as Newcastle residents. And I'll be sure to get some in Ms. Duntillo with them in the city administration office. Data centers were definitely a hot topic. And today Newcastle County is meeting to potentially deliberate on that. There was some analysis in regards to Newcastle County versus Loudoun County in Virginia. And again, there's some pamphlets, information in the back. And I also did print off some copies of the most recent draft iteration of the so-called data center bill that Newcastle County Council will potentially be deliberating on this evening. Ms. Tintillo, I know I mentioned a desire to work on celebrating 250 with a music, some type of concert, et cetera. I've been able to identify some art grants that speak to the musical arts. And I'll look forward to sharing that information with you and seeing if there's a fit in regards to our city. And then finally, our service person spotlight that I have this month is for Mr. Dennis Anazuski. He's a resident in our community who served in the Navy for over 13 years as a communications specialist and petty officer, first class. During his service to the country, he received 2 Navy Good Medals and a meritorious citation. In 1983, he served in Beirut. He also served in the state of Virginia and in the state of Alaska. Thank you, Mr. Dennis, for your service to Newcastle and to the country. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you. I just have a couple things. First of all, I attended the St. Patrick's party here in the Senior Center on Saturday night, annual fundraiser for the Senior Center, and it's always a great event. I think they had a good turnout. We had some great music from Mike and Tracy Conley and their band. The other thing I wanted to talk about briefly is I attended a meeting organized by Representative Melissa Minor Brown's office. And we discussed a variety of topics, but one of them was she distributed a list of utility bill assistance resources for Delawareans. Delmarva Power has a customer relief fund, one-time assistance of up to $500. And this applies to both electric and gas customers, since we're not Delmarva electric customers, but we are Delmarva gas customers. This may benefit some of our residents. There are some income limits. There's a website. I'm not going to read that out because I can never remember them when somebody just spits out a website for me, but we'll get this posted to the city website and Facebook page. There's also the Delaware Energy Fund, which is one-time assistance of up to $300 for non-Delmarva customers. So I guess that could be applied to your MSC bill. Again, there's some income limits. There's a federal state program called LIHEAP, Low Income Home Energy Assistance. That's still available, again, with an income limit. There's weatherization assistance. And they will do a home energy checkup and counseling, and that has no income limits. Representative Brown said she and her husband had them come to their home and learned a lot and got some free light bulbs and other energy saving things. So keep your eye out on the website, and maybe we could also make some copies and put them in those racks in the office for people who don't go online. Mayor Hearing. Oh, sure.
Just a couple of things. This past Saturday, I attended the Ocean State Job Lots grand opening. So if you remember where the Big Lots was, this is a new store there. This is the third one, Delaware. It was great. It's going to be a great place to shop. So they have a little bit of everything. So you won't leave there empty-handed. They do have grocery, so it's all dry goods. So I'm going to go ahead and read the Arbor Day proclamation. Arbor Day proclamation proclaiming April 24th, 2026 is Arbor Day in the city of Newcastle. Whereas in 1872, at the suggestion of J. Sterling Morton, the Nebraska Board of Agriculture established a special day to be set aside for the planting of trees. And whereas this holiday, called Arbor Day, was first observed on April 10th, 1872, with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska. And whereas Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world, and whereas trees can be a solution to combating climate change by reducing the erosion of our topsoil by wind and water, cutting heating and cooling costs, moderating the temperature, cleaning the air, producing life-giving oxygen, and providing habitat for wildlife. Whereas trees are a renewable resource giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. Whereas trees in our city increase property values, enhance economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our community. And whereas trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. Now therefore I, Valerie Leary, Mayor of the City of Newcastle, Delaware, do hereby proclaim April 24th, 2026 as Arbor Day in the city of Newcastle, Delaware, and urge all citizens to celebrate Arbor Day and support efforts to further protect our trees and woodlands. And further, I urge all citizens to plant trees to gladden the heart and promote the well-being of this and future generations.
Thank you.
One last thing, coming off of your energy assistance. This past summer, at the beginning of the summer, we bought blackout curtains for all of our windows. Blackout curtains aren't necessarily black. Ours are actually white to the public, and they coordinate with the room inside. But during the summer, we closed all those, and it kept the house, and especially our front room, we have a large market window in there, kept it 10 degrees cooler. And this winter, on, that cold snap we had where anything didn't get above 32, we also closed them to help keep the rooms warmer. So it does help. It does help. I'm not going to tell you it saves hundreds, but it certainly saves something on your bill.
Thank you. Chief Majewski, I imagine you're here for the Goodwill report.
Yes, ma'am. Good evening and thank you. In your packet, you should have our run report as prepared by Captain Moore. Some major notes out of it, mostly with some numbers, right? 165 EMS runs, calls for service for the month, and 124 fire rescue type calls for service for a total of 189 for the very short month of February. During the month, obviously, and even into January, we were spun up with additional crews to support both our storm operations, support city staff, and custody police, things like that. We had great operations, I think, for both of those storms. So thank you for the support from the city and the coordination with those events. And just on more of a public safety note, more than anything, we went through time change over the weekend. We always use that opportunity to say change your clocks, which was going to change automatically now. Technology is an amazing thing. However, it does not change your smoke detector battery. So even if you have the new 10-year smoke detector type lithium-ion batteries, we encourage you to please just check the date on those and make sure that you and your family are safe. Finally, as you may have seen in the news today, there was a large fire in the Delaware River. Luckily, it did not make it to Newcastle. It was very much on its way here. The Coast Guard got it spun around right before the C&D Canal. However, resources from Goodwill were committed to that throughout the day and continue to be committed now. So we're actively involved in that incident, supporting it even as it's moved down off of. Any questions from council? Yes, ma'am.
I read somewhere they thought it might have fireworks on it. Is that true?
No fireworks.
Oh, good.
Just scrap metal, a whole lot.
Okay. Well, that's good. At least it didn't explode.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, the next part is public comments. Usual thing, go to the podium, sign in on the sheet. Please use the microphone. Speak directly into it. That helps everyone hear you. And everyone gets 3 minutes. Mr. Zelt has a timer. So who would like to go first?
Rita Brown, William Penn Square. Some months ago, I wrote to the city council requesting that life members be added to the ordinance 558 for the property tax credit. I was advised to follow up with David Lasky Jr., which I did. He informed me that because the ordinance does not specifically include life members, only active members, there was nothing he could do. Therefore, I am bringing this matter back to you for consideration. Can ordinance 558 be amended to include life members so that they may also qualify for the property tax credit? And I'd also appreciate if I could get something in writing as to, when this is decided.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay,
I really don't understand it. It's a disservice not having this, not having a decent sound system. People don't even know what you're talking about. For $2,000, you can put a system of speakers around here so people can know what you're saying. It's terrible.
well, others have told us they can hear, but please tell us what you have to say today.
You gotta hurry up, only got 3 minutes. Okay. Sorry, I have to write this as I only have 3 minutes. Seems like we're short on a few constitutional amendments here, like the first, second, fifth, and 14th. Look them up and read. A lot of men died for these rights. You're here tonight to solidify an aberration called the Battery, from a plat legally zoned for 35 apartments, swelled to now to over 130. How do you get away with that? I have no idea. From 38 parking spots to needing over 300, but they're not available. 7th Street, that you can't even park on the street. Where are they gonna park? On somebody else's property? And you're really gonna have problems. It joins a few other 1,000 Section 8 apartments that are scheduled to be built on our street. You have the fiber mill, you have the steel mill, you have Serrano Brothers building more. Now you have this Battery, going to put another 150 there. You can't turn down Section 8 apartments anymore. If they have an application, you have to take it. People from all the states around us are coming here because there is available apartments. Even though Deemer's Place swore they were not going to use Section 8, the government forced them to now, and they sold out to the largest Section 8 developer in the country. 400 some apartments over Deemer's Place, all Section 8 now. You know, Section 8 vote. When renters become more than homeowners, you've got a real problem in your society, my friend, a real problem. If they have no stake here, any renter don't have a stake. You can leave the next day, the next month. You don't have a stake in this community. Just because you're downtown, you don't think this is not going to affect you. It's going to affect you. I've been broken in 3 times in the last year, my house. 3 times. The house on Umbrella Road was completely trashed. It has to be torn down or people vandalized it. You think that another couple blocks is going to make a difference pretty soon? It's not going to make a difference. You're going to feel it. Downtown Gateway means downtime zoning. When the renters outnumber the homeowners. It's a litmus test of disintegration of one society. After all the vote, the social experiment of the Wilmington East Side Section 8 apartment complex called Southbridge only lasted 25 years. They tore it down because they knew the whole East Side was nothing but, it was terrible, to say the least. So you chose in our neighborhoods with this downtown gateway for your social experiments, making these slumlords rich over our dead neighborhoods.
Mr. Demandi, I'm sorry, your time is up.
You have it. I wrote it. You can read it.
Well, sir, once you've spoken, I don't read the letters. You don't get both. You don't get both. You spoke, so I will not read your letters. You just said your piece.
You don't have to read it. Voters can read it next time you run. That's what's going to count.
My name is Florence Fitz. I live in Williams Village.
Could you speak into the mic, please, ma'am?
Certainly.
Thank you.
The main reason I got up was to back what he was saying. It's not so much that you can't hear, it's that you guys' microphones are muffled. Like when you were speaking, I didn't understand half you're saying. So I'm just saying that he said you can't hear, but it's not that you can't. It's muffled. So I want you to.
Okay, maybe we're too close. I don't know.
I don't know what it is, but I'm telling you that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Kelly Kruger. I'm the owner of Transplus, which is adjacent to the battery that you may or may not be voting on tonight. I did have the opportunity to speak with the gentlemen that are representing the battery here tonight. And my concern was looking at the plans, am I going to be able to enter our business? And I was assured by them that I'm not going to have an issue entering Surfside Bay. And I would just hope that when they speak to that matter, you talk to that or before you vote, that they agree that that's what we discussed today, that I'm not gonna have an impact. And that's all I'm looking for. And so if you vote or don't vote, that was a concern because the plans were a little ambiguous.
Okay.
Thank you.
And just so you know, the gentleman you spoke to is our city planner. He does not work for the
Okay.
organization building.
Okay, there was another
Oh,
gentleman.
you spoke to someone else too. Okay. I only saw you speaking to Mr. Rogers.
Okay, thank you. Sure.
Very professional.
Okay, so your piece, Mr. Gross.
First of all, the battery, that's been bounced around for 3-4 years, given more extensions than any project I've seen in the city. As Mr. Demundi said, first of all, the scope of it has been enlarged beyond what that area is gonna handle. And council keeps voting, planning commission keeps voting for more and more and more. Well, Matco had, I don't know how many sessions on that intersection. And to this day, I've not seen any results of anything that's gonna lead me or anybody else to believe that that street's gonna be able to handle the project. I do not feel in any way that any of the council people should vote to extend any kind of, things to them. They've had their time to get the project started. I feel if they want to change it any more than it already has, they need to reapply and start from scratch. Buttonwood, and I have pictures here. Every month I go by there, either the lot's been jimmied open. Today, the gate's fully open. Either somebody's gonna take responsibility for Buttonwood having tractor trailers go through there. And I don't wait for election time to check on city residents' issues. And that is an issue, and I brought it up 8 times in the last 2.5 years. Still open as of this date. So somebody's gotta take responsibility for it. Dog park. Again, there's been no public special meetings with drawings, maps, or pictures of what was to be proposed. And yet they feel the need to go ahead and spend our money. It's not even on budget. They play games with road improvement to make a project scope look smaller financially than it is. It's grown. And we have nothing to show for it. Nobody that can tell me, other than 8 people that have wanted it. I've got over 100 signatures from people that say they didn't ask for it. They didn't need our tax money spent on it. But yet you guys have seen fit to spend our money when it isn't even necessary. I feel it should be tabled. It should not go ahead, not another cent spent until separate public meetings are set. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Miss Jordan. Thank you.
Yes, good evening. My name is Miss Jordan. I live at Davidsville, 204 Clark Street. I was trying to call the city to bring to their attention the situation going on about parking. That clearly we have a situation that police come every day. Neighbors call police on neighbors. When they come, the police never try to give the situation to the people concerned about that. And I feel like one day something going to happen escalated. So I called the city told me to come here today in that meeting to bring it to see what they can do about the parking. What is the situation? It's when the police come, they said it's a free parking for everybody. But as I park, someone come, knock at my door, scream, say bad words, move your car, and they call the police come. So I'm coming here tonight to see if the city, if somebody can do something about it, either talk the road, because as someone talk bad, the whole line come back. And also we have children, we don't want to hear certain stuff. If there's a solution, please, we are free to talk to see what can be done to help, because this is where I live, that's my house. So, thank you very much.
Anyone else? Okay. The next item is we have reports from 3 of our committees, beginning with the tree advisory.
Good evening. My name is Ed Ryan. I'm the chairman of the Tree Advisory Commission. I joined the commission in December of 24 and assumed the role of chairman in April of 25. Thank you, Ed. Thank you for the opportunity to report to you about the work of the Tree Advisory Commission in 2025. The Tree Advisory Commission, better known as TAC, meets once a month to review city work tree permit applications that are received from city residents and property owners. Residents can request that city trees between the road and the sidewalk in front of their property be removed or newly planted. In 2025, TAC reviewed 35 applications. If an application is approved by the commission, TAC sends a recommendation for work to the Public Works Department. The Director of Public Works and the City Administrator decide whether they can do the work themselves or if they need to put out a request for bids. TAC never approves a request for the removal of a tree unless it is necessary, causing property damage, has outgrown its location, or is presenting a safety concern. Based on our application review, TAC recommended that 10 trees be pruned last year and another 10 trees be removed for public and private safety concerns. TAC approved 10 applications for new trees, which have already been planted or will be scheduled for planting once the trees are available from the approved tree list. And TAC denied 5 applications, 2025. A major focus of TAC is to identify areas for future planting to complete historic Newcastle's tree canopy. TAC uses guidelines from the Arbor Day Foundation for right tree in the right place. These are cultivars, smaller canopy trees that will grow 20 to 30 feet in height instead of older trees that often will reach 70 to 100 feet. In 2025, TAC planted approximately 30 new trees. 9 trees were planted on Delaware Street in the fall between 6th and 7th. That would be going uptown from the Armory to the old traffic light intersection. Sixth and Delaware. 9 trees were, in the spring, 9 trees were planted near library, on the side of the library, Fifth Street, West Fifth Street. And 12 other trees were planted in various locations on East Second, East Third, and West Fourth Street. Our focus of future tree planting will be streets to the west of Delaware Street. Depending on the willingness of residents, the availability of trees on the TAC recommended tree list, and the amount of money allotted to the tree commission. The goal will be to plant or replace 25 or 30 trees per year. Ongoing, TAC will be facing some new challenges to reach our goals. Specifically in 2025, almost 800 volunteer and donor financed hours were devoted to fixing sidewalks as a result of tree removal and stump grinding, preparing new tree pits for the new trees, planting trees and maintaining new trees. In adherence with the Tree City USA standards, a certified arborist should be available for consultation and new tree pruning. Currently, those services are provided by a gentleman named Norman Lear from Gateway Nursery, who's a certified arborist. That has been done at donor expense. It's not certain whether the anonymous donor funding will continue. If not, that will put a little more burden on the TAC budget, and which can be handled. The budget seems adequate and hasn't been used entirely in the past couple of years. But just wanted to make the council and mayor and council aware of that. The Tree Advisory Commission currently has no open positions. Tree TAC members have all completed the FOIA training and currently do not have any need for additional training at this point.
Thank you, Mr. Ryan. Any questions from council?
I didn't have a question, sorry. How you doing it? Thanks for coming and thanks for chairing the TAC. I truly appreciate what you guys do in the city, and one of the greatest legacies, person can leave with, planting trees and doing it strategically. My only question was about, historically, does TAC only work in historic district, or do you also visit sites in other neighborhoods as well? And is there planning, you said you're planning on doing west side of Delaware, is there planning to go to different neighborhoods as well, outside of historic district as well?
I think so. I can't answer specifically. If that means beyond Fifth Street, I think the intention is to continue planting on numbered streets throughout Newcastle, as far as 11th or 12th Street, I would imagine. I think that's the intention, but I can't say for certain.
Yeah, so it's basically what I'm saying, there's ongoing list of kind of analyzing trees in the city, regardless of where it is, just kind of like as the time and capacity,
As far as new planting you're talking about?
And looking at existing trees, for where is evaluation of existing trees only by application of residents, or is it something that TAC practically looks at as well?
They did. The commission members do look at other trees that have not been brought to the attention of the commission by residents. And we can submit an application for consideration by Public Works. That does happen. Also, the city administrative office and Public Works works on trees at their discretion. They have the ultimate decision on what's done. But to answer your question, trying to be more succinct, I think the planning going forward is to continue to plant trees beyond those trees.
Thank you so much.
Sure, appreciate it. Mr. Ryan? I'm sorry.
Sorry. By the way?
Again, thank you for your work. Thank you for the work of your members. One of the questions, I have a few questions and comments. My immediate question is, it's a question, but it's a comment. Comment is, I can't help but in the summertime and when the weather is nice, recognize you and your members literally on your hands and knees, planting trees, putting bricks back in place. And it is an amazing act of service and love of community. With that being said, if you could ask, this is just me speaking, but I wanna know, and I would hope the council will wanna know. Respectfully, do you or any of your members need like equipment to do what you do? Do you need knee pads or any of those types of things to function as a body? And if that's something you could ask your board, if that's something they need.
Those kinds of things are available through Public Works. Okay. If we need assistance with equipment, tools, for example. Okay. To address your compliment on the amount of work that gets done by volunteers, that's not necessarily commission members who are doing that.
Yeah, I know.
Much of it has been done at donor financing by individuals that they've hired. And I reason to believe that may not it may not necessarily be continued in the future. I think we're gonna have to rely more on our budget funding to hire someone or to use the services of Public Works Department to do some sidewalk remediation, tree pit construction, and maintenance of the tree pits.
Yeah, no, I hear that, I receive that. I'm happy to work with you all, and I think council and the city administration we're looking for grants and things of that nature. Not sure if there's been any looking at high school students in terms of the trade schools or those types of programs that they may want to volunteer to kind of help. I really appreciate what your group has done. I know last year under Mr. Benson, you all created a 5-year plan, which is amazing. In regards to the report, I would love to work with you on it, but wondering if you maybe next time can just maybe add to it respectfully. Okay. For example, and this will really paint a picture on the great job that you all are doing. I know you have a 5-year plan, and the goal is, I think, to plant at least 30 trees per year. So if you could maybe like on a going forward basis, like reference the number of trees that you did in 2024, in 2025, and then, you know, in 2026, and then kind of grow that 5 years out. Okay. That would be amazing. And then also from a data analytical standpoint, number of trees planted, number of trees pruned and or removed. I think that will help the city analyze like projections and possibly predict things in the future. You're talking about budgetary items, which we know we may need to address, and you certainly have my support in that. And then the last thing, I'm noticing in your report, you're saying that the arborist may no longer be available to you all. If you could look at approximately how much arborist consultant potentially would be on a going forward basis for the city, again, as we analyze and try to look forward. Thank you. I know I asked you a few different things. I did want to just get on the record. I'm happy to talk with you further about this and also to support you.
Okay, I made some notes, so thank you for the suggestions, Mr. Meadowood. Thank you.
Thank you. And next we have the Board of Health.
Thank you. I'm Tish Gallagher, Chair of the Board of Health. In 2025, the Board of Health met 5 times for regular meetings and a special meeting. And we continue to look for ways to add value to the community. And I think our activities reflect that approach. The following list highlights some of our activities in 2025. We highlighted mental health awareness in 2025. And we kicked that off in May with a proclamation from Mayor Leary, recognizing that month as Mental Health Awareness Month in the city. As a result, we tied green ribbons on the light post on Delaware Street to highlight Mental Health Awareness Month. And we also embarked on a three-part series on mental health awareness that was initiated in the weekly in May with an article about mental health overall. And then we did an article on accessing emergency services and that came out in late summer, early fall. And the final article on how to help a loved one struggling with substance abuse has now been published. In the written report, it says it was in the queue, but it has now been published. As part of our regular meetings, we always look at infectious diseases that are trending in our area. And we decided that it would be a good idea to share that with the general public. So we started to put that in the weekly. And had a kind of slow start because it's slow. Infectious diseases tend to be slower in the summertime. And then we had the government shutdown, so we weren't really accessing good information about infectious diseases for several weeks in there. But we have picked up again on that, and we're planning to continue this activity whenever it makes sense to do so. I think I reported last year that we wanted to have a small mental kind of health fair related to mental health issues. Well, our city coordinator, or Ms. Tantillo, and councilperson Mattaway encouraged us to think a little more broadly about that, and with their significant support, we had a very successful city health fair at the Goodwill Fire Hall in September of 2025, and I think most of you attended that, so thank you. And that health fair coincided with the blood drive. During the health fair, we collected data using our newly developed health survey. That survey was completed with help from Ms. Tantillo and her interns. And data were collected at the health fair on paper forms and inputted into the computer to be collated. And as a result of that first foray into data collection, the survey was adjusted a little bit just to make it more usable, and more data will be collected this spring electronically. We'll have a month of data collection coming up this spring. And we'll use those data hopefully to guide some of our articles that we write for the weekly and some of our other activities. I mentioned last year that some of us wanted to attend CERT training, which is Community Emergency Response Training, or team, something like that. It was offered, it's in March, this past weekend actually, and those of us who were interested were unable to attend, so we're still looking to do that. FOIA training, I am trained, and Jamie Majewski has also had FOIA training, but the other three have not yet been trained. We're working on that. Currently, we don't feel that we need any more training on how to deliberate or be more effective. However, it would be nice if anybody knows of any training for how to get a new leader to step up in a board. That would be really helpful. I don't want to quit the board. It's just time for somebody else to do it for a while, maybe. We received great logistical support from Ms. Tantillo and the staff in the city office, and we deeply appreciate their help and guidance. We do not interact with a professional advisor at this point, but it is important to note that currently the board has fairly significant breadth and depth of pertinent education and experience in the health field. We have no openings at this time, and the members work well together. And we have received no complaints since our last report to City Council. For the upcoming year, we plan to do another health fair, hopefully continue the health-related articles in the weekly, particularly using the information we get from our survey. And probably we need to do one on measles from the sounds of it. We still would like to do some public education related to the dog park before it opens. And are keeping an eye on that. We don't know exactly how that will be, whether it will be in the paper or whether it will be a face-to-face thing. Infectious diseases will continue to share information about disease trends that have the potential to impact our community. And we know that the city of Newcastle along with Councilperson Madaway, I think it was maybe his idea, or he found the grant to educate the Newcastle public about PFAS, the forever chemicals. And if we get that grant, we certainly hope to be involved in some of those activities. And the last thing is that we do want to start including the city code enforcement officer back into our meetings a little more. We used to always do that, and we've had some turnover there and some training time, but we want to work on getting him back into our meetings. We don't have any grant funding requests currently, and you have information on our budget requests. So thank you for the opportunity to share what we've done this past year and for your ongoing support.
Thank you. Any questions for Mrs. Gallagher? Sorry.
I have no questions. I just wanted to say thank you for this tremendous work you guys are doing. I'm so happy that focus has been on mental health, and I know it's gonna remain regardless of what, survey shows. And, I think it's a great idea to have residents provide feedback to, lead efforts, for upcoming years and what the board can do. I'm sorry to hear that, every time we speak and suggest something that just adds to your work. So I'm sorry to hear that, you're seeing it, you would like a different leader to.
Different role, maybe.
Sure, but I'm grateful, that, you're doing this. It's a great report here that we're seeing of great work, most importantly. One thing I can say is I hope, that with things being in place for the first time, like fair, articles that, that those things become a little more routine and less burdensome. So hopefully that, some of the work you've built in the year one in your leader role, I hope that, that you reap some benefits of maybe putting less work in it that you established this to work. So, and, whatever we can do as a council or city to help bring volunteers, please do reach out to Nina or us so we can, obviously this is easier said than done. But, whatever we can do, please let us know because it's really important work for our residents.
Thank you. And please understand, I didn't do all this work by myself. The group really does do work, so.
I'm just praising your leadership, so.
Yeah, thank you.
As to your comment about getting somebody new, so I'm just saying thank you for that. I hope you can, see that we appreciate everything that you do for us.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, thank you, Ms. Gallagher. And our final report tonight for committees is Ms. Rain for the Planning Commission.
Hi, City Council, thank you for the opportunity to present our annual report. My name is Margot Rain. I am Chair of the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission is required by Delaware state law. Our purpose is to review plans for new projects, building projects, and ensure they're in compliance with the city code and our comprehensive plan. We meet monthly. Some of the highlights from 2025 include from January to July, the Planning Commission was very involved in researching, holding hearings, and listening to the input of residents regarding tourist homes and short-term rentals. We listened to the concerns on both sides of this issue. And in July, our city solicitor presented Ordinance 555, which we voted on and then was forwarded to the city council for their consideration. In August, there was also a discussion of ordinance 556, updating the regulations to allow for in-home occupations in the historic district. The planning commission voted to approve recommending the ordinance to city council. And in addition, the planning commission also recommended that home-based businesses be allowed in the R1 zone. The things that were approved by the planning commission in 2025, there was a recommendation of special exception in the DG zone for self-storage units located at 300 West 7th Street. That was approved in December. The preliminary subdivision plan of lots 1 to 6 at 1004 Gray Street was approved in November. And we also approved an extension of the conditional approval for the site at 427 West 7th Street, known as the Battery, in April. At the time I drafted this report, we didn't have a need for any new commissioners, but that has since changed as one of our commissioners has resigned. And so we will be working with the mayor to find a replacement. One of the activities that we undertook during the year, because it was the year that required the 5-year review of our comp plan, was each meeting, we took several chapters from the comp plan, all the commissioners read it, and then we discussed it, trying to determine whether there was an immediate need for a change or something we needed to begin looking at in preparation to redo the comp plan, which will be due to the state of Delaware in 2030. So that was one of our educational activities. 5 of our commissioners attended the FOIA training that was held this past fall. We have 3 others still in need of the FOIA training, and I'm working with Ms. Tantilio to get the video to those 3 individuals. Let's see what else. Our professional support comes from Chris Rogers, the city planner, Lisa Hatfield, the city solicitor, and Antonina Tantilio, the city manager. So plans for 2026, because we know in 5 years, actually 4 years now, we have to provide a new comprehensive plan. We are going to develop a plan for how we will approach that, figuring that we're going to need to start about 2 years out, beginning with finding out what's going on, holding some public hearings, and really identifying what citizens think are the critical issues and things that we should be looking at happening or not happening in our city from 2030 to 2040. In terms of budget needs, we ask that you continue to accrue some money to help cover those expenses, because we're going to need to be hiring some professionals to help us with various aspects of that. We want to make sure we have enough money to do that. We also, last year, for the first time, had to have several meetings here in the senior center, and we had not budgeted for that in the past, so we just asked for that we budget for at least 2 potential meetings at the senior center, and then some money for training. So that's pretty much what's been going on with the Planning Commission for the last year. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Ms. Rayner? Looks like you covered it all. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
The next item of business is ordinance 562, which we held the public hearing on prior to this meeting. This is an ordinance regarding the time frame for which a hearing has to be held and a decision rendered for the Board of Adjustment. I do want to tell you that the plan, what this ordinance as drafted provides is that instead of a specific time frame, currently 30 days, from when the request for the Board of Adjustment hearing is filed, that we change that to a reasonable time, which puts it in conformity with the state code. And we currently require 45 days for the rendering of a decision, and this ordinance proposes to change that also to a reasonable time, again, in accordance with state code. I will tell you that the Planning Commission recommended that we simply expand the 30 days to 45 days. They did think it was important to keep a specific time frame, and they wanted to keep the 45-day requirement for rendering the decision. I talked to our solicitor about this and asked him if there'd been any problems at the state level with having a reasonable time instead of a specific time frame, and he said not to his knowledge. And the reason that this whole thing was proposed was because when a Board of Adjustment hearing is requested, we have to coordinate the 5 people on the Board of Adjustment, at least 2 and sometimes 3 lawyers, the person bringing the application. And as you can imagine, everybody has busy schedules. It's sometimes really difficult to find a date that works for everybody, or at least most of them. And the second thing is we're legally required to post notice of these meetings 15 days in advance. And it has to go in the newspaper. And our local newspaper is published weekly, not daily, which means that to meet that 15-day rule, often it's more like 20 days because otherwise we miss the deadline for getting it in the paper in time to meet the 15-day requirement. So scheduling hearings within 30 days or even 45 days is kind of difficult. And the solicitor said it's potentially, if we maintain a fixed time frame, like 30 days or 45 days, and miss that time frame, that a person dissatisfied with the decision of the Board of Adjustment could appeal, and it could lead to it being vacated. So that would mean all the work would have to be done all over again. So that was the background for why this amendment, why this ordinance was brought, and changing it from a specified time to a reasonable time. And I don't think that means it's going to be put off indefinitely. It just means being practical, that we're working with 7 or 8 very busy people, trying to coordinate their schedules and meet the legal requirements for posting notice of these meetings. So that's my piece on this. I don't know if anyone else in council has comments about it.
Just wanted to say I appreciate the context you provided there, because I was curious as well to the reason why it was brought up. I just have a quick question. I think is I appreciate how difficult scheduling can be within 30 days and then 45 days. Has there been, how do I put this? Has there been a case in which it has been very challenging to schedule something for 30 days, or is this one of those things, almost every case is very stressful and down to the wire where it's difficult to just try to get a sense of this, like, was this one case, or is this, like continuous stressor for staff?
Yes, it is. So like President Sauer mentioned, we have to coordinate everyone's schedules. We have to find a date that we have available because we have so many working commissions. One part, we have to find a date that works for everyone and then works for the city in scheduling the meeting room and not conflicting with another meeting. And then also we have the publishing requirements. So to fit in that tight time frame does give us a lot of challenge. And could open up to, if someone's on that side, like a potential issue. We just want to avoid that. We just want to make it a little, the state allows for this type of flexibility. We should be able to have something similar. And of course, the goal is not to draw anything out. The goal is to be efficient with our time, but also be reasonable with our expectations.
Thank you for that. I presumed it was pretty much every case that's difficult to schedule. And I did say a lot, only question, but something occurred to me. In your research, as you were thinking, what the state does, have you inquired to see what's their average scheduling time? Like, is it 60 days? Just kind of to understand. I don't think we're gonna be whatever their average is, just trying to get a picture of, we don't have that many cases come in front of Newcastle, but just curious.
Yeah, I unfortunately don't know that
Okay.
answer. Do you happen to know that?
Sure, just to clarify, the state requirement is what the state code requires of the municipalities. So we are talking about the municipal board of adjustments, and they're across the board. Some cities have set times that their board meets once a month. A lot of cities are like the city of Newcastle, where there is no set time and you have to set schedules. Obviously, if you have a set time that you're meeting every month, it's easier to anticipate, coordinate hearings. When you have to coordinate on an per application basis, it takes. And so I don't have the statistics for you, but that's generally what we see.
So devil's argument, what's the on of having it scheduled twice, 12 times or maybe 11 times a year and just canceling if there's no applications coming in? So rolling meeting where if something fits in still, if it doesn't come within 45 days or 30 days, like what's the downside of that? If, like you only have 3 months a year where you have application. I have no idea how many there, so I'm sorry, I apologize to the board, how frequently you meet. So, but what, is there an example of that where you would just cancel meetings until,
Well, just also remember the posting requirements.
Yeah.
So making sure that you post for that meeting and posting it in the newspaper, posting it on the website and to our building, but also posting the property and getting that all completed within that time frame. So if the meeting is posted to be on March 5th, did we have enough time from when the application was received till March 5th? And then if not, is the meeting scheduled with April gonna keep us within that time frame? Probably not.
Yeah, so Councilman, there's two answers to your question. The first answer is even if it's a set schedule like that, 30 days is not practical. You're gonna run into the same challenge for the reasons Ms. Tantillo just mentioned. But to answer your specific question, why as a logistical matter would you not do it that way? Because you would require the board members to then commit to being available every single time. And that is also brings its own challenges.
Thank you. Those are all my questions.
But I respect everyone's time and talent, and definitely don't want anyone feeling like they're under pressure to get something done while coordinating schedules. I did have the opportunity to listen and watch yesterday's planning commission meeting. And not only did the planning commission vote for 45 days, it was unanimous. We just heard a gentleman, Ms. Gallagher here. She was talking about trying to get someone to step up to be on a board. And I just want the council, the city, just to be aware of instances where people might feel like their opinions aren't heard or validated. And we don't want our citizens who are volunteering on these boards that do great work to feel like what they decide on isn't balanced, isn't given any credence or consideration. And so I need to balance that for my prism. And so I know it says 30 days. They said change it to 45. I'm wondering if we could meet in the middle to make everyone feel like they're getting something to be most accommodative. For example, if 45 days is too tight, can we go 50? Can we say 60 and try it? Like I said, the planning commission unanimously said 45 days.
I was not at the planning commission meeting. Were you, Mr. Hoffman?
I was not, my colleague, Lisa Hatfield.
I was,
but Mr. Rogers was.
I was just wondering, did they have the discussion of the difficulty of fitting into the 30-day timeframe or even a 45-day timeframe?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, Ms. Hatfield made it very clear. She presented all of the issues that Mr. Hoffman just presented.
And I added that when you don't meet regularly, it's even more complicated and time consuming to try to schedule everyone. So, it was made clear to them that, they can make whatever recommendation they felt was appropriate, and they did.
And what was their rationale even given that for saying they think 45 days is important to set?
45 days was chosen, because I believe that's in the code now, and there was some concern that there was, perhaps could be a perception that if there wasn't some max time limit, that there could be a perception that the city is delaying something unduly, according to the planning commission.
And was there, sorry, I'm gonna speak a little louder, was there when they were talking about that comment, was there a feedback where, going between Board of Adjustment and Planning Commission, it would impact Planning Commission timeline as well? For a certain site going from one to the other, is that kind of how that would impact Planning Commission and their decision? Both, I guess?
Only one of the three, of powers that the Board of Adjustment has goes to the planning commission, so,
Are you asking about this one before the planning commission?
Yes.
Because it's in the second. This part of the code. And the
No,
planning
the
commission-
45 days wouldn't necessarily impact planning timeline on things in majority of cases, is what you're saying.
Correct.
Okay. That's what I was getting.
I think Ms. Rain has some comment from the planning commission.
The one thing that we missed or were unaware of was that we would need about 20 days to get the notice in the paper properly, which I think would have probably added some time to the day. Because we weren't aware that it would take that long to get, that was not mentioned at all.
Just to build off of that, and so there are two components of this, and I think where the 45 days came from. There is the part of the code that requires that a hearing be scheduled and held within 30 days. And then there's a part that says after the hearing, you must issue the decision within 45 days. Both of these requests are related to logistical challenges. On the 45-day piece, it is preparing the written decision, presenting that, making sure everyone is, the mayor's in agreement, coordinating signatures and filing that. What I would submit to council is if there is a concern on the open-ended and you wanted to keep the 45 days, that is more in our control than the 30 days. And so the recommendation was the state code requires you to hold the hearing and issue the decision within a reasonable time. That's what the state code requires. The recommendation is let's not handcuff ourselves where we're backed into a corner. Let's follow what state code says. Understanding if there is an appetite or a request that there be the parameter, my suggestion would be to keep the 45-day for the written decision piece. But I am very strong in the recommendation as far as when we hold the hearings. It is just not practical to schedule and hold a hearing within 30 days or even 45 days when you need 15 days notice, and that notice can only be published once a week. So what you're asking is staff to receive an application, to process that application, prepare a notice for a hearing, coordinate schedules, get it into the paper, have that be 15 days, and have all of that happen within 30 days. It's just not practical, which is what's driving this recommendation.
So you made reference to two different numbers. The first number where you said strongly, is that in regards to section 1B? Is that the piece?
So they're both in B. So if you look at the first page where it says, and hold the public hearing within 30 days, from the date of the notice, of filing the notice of appeal. So, the recommendation is just to keep that, strike that piece. And then, So it could say shall fix a reasonable time, and that's already in there. The part I was talking about is the second piece of the last sentence, where it says the board shall then decide the appeal within a reasonable time. It says decide the appeal within 45 days from the time of the hearing. If you're gonna keep anything, that's what I would keep.
Just comment on that, thank you guys for providing context, and I do appreciate, Council Mataway's, comment about planning commission's vote. And thank you, Ms. Margaret, for comment about context of not knowing the scheduling piece, so that helps me make my decision. At a minimum, as I'm reading this, I don't see an issue removing the first part because it still it already has a reasonable time. And we would, as a council, be able to hear complaints potentially in the future to reinstate this if we're seeing that scheduling is happening 3 months later, or, just making stuff up right now. Obviously, I don't think that's happening at all or would happen. So I think I feel comfortable personally seeing that removed. Even the other one, just because I still trust that we're performing at a reasonable time, but I see the argument of keeping it in there because it's more in our control, so it still has accountability of upon the completion of that hearing, we have a clock that, you can expect some decision as an applicant. So I see both arguments there. First part of it for 30 days, I think that's easier one to fix with a complaint. Second one, I can see it in real impact there, down the line. So, but once again, I do trust the reasonable time and the effort we would put as a city to process that and, make an opinion.
I guess in answer to Mr. Mataway's concern that it might appear that we're disregarding the planning commission's opinion, we didn't adapt their ordinance regarding short-term rentals 100% as submitted. We made changes based on input we received in our own analysis of it. And I also think we have to consider if we don't change this, are we disregarding and disrespecting the time of the Board of Adjustment members? Because we're saying you've got to do whatever you have to do to get this meeting done within 30 days when it sometimes conflicts with work, with family obligations, with scheduling for the attorneys and for the plaintiff or the person bringing the request. So I think we have to look at that side of it too. And I think that's been an argument to help us get people to serve on the Board of Adjustment, because it's a difficult job. You have a lot of analysis. The planning commission is very difficult too. I don't mean that. But sometimes if you say to people, you don't have meetings every month, it's kind of encourages them to step up and do their part and participate. So I'll just throw all that out there too. I'm not, there's no perfect answer to this question. That's, I guess, the bottom line.
No, I understand, and thank you, Council President, for saying that. I just wanted to raise it, and it is a balancing act. And in receiving our solicitor's advisement, I received that and I acknowledge it. I guess I'm just wondering, if is there a number of days that council would feel comfortable essentially amending it to give it flexibility, but trying it out. So right now, it's 30 days. Can we go to 60? Is there interest in going to 60 to try to 75 days?
Doesn't that disadvantage the other person coming to the Board of Adjustment because they're waiting that much longer? I mean, there's the middle, the 45, but now you extend it to 60, you extend it to 75. That's a disadvantage to the person who's paying to come to the Board of Adjustment.
My understanding is that the city and staff will always work to make it most efficient. And the time domain essentially is indemnifying the city for being accused of slow moving, right? But that we would always work, if it's 60 days, we would always work to make it, to do it expeditiously, but that it would be the threshold that would be decided as to if there's any malfeasance.
Madam President,
Yeah.
what I heard from our legal counsel was he strongly recommends us changing the first section in B about scheduling the meeting. I'm going with his advice on that. In the second one, if we want to keep it at 45 days for a written decision, I completely understand. He advised we have a lot more control over that. I mean, it's after the vote, we have to put the decision together, make sure everybody's on the same page and get the signatures. So I can't ignore the fact that our council has strongly urged us to change this first section. Thank you. You know what, at that, I'll make an amendment to ordinance 562, that the last sentence in B1 actually remain 45 days from the time of the hearing.
So is there,
I second that.
okay, I just want to make sure that this amendment is, that I understand it correctly and that we all do. So the amendment would be to leave the deletion of the hold the public hearing within 30 days and just have the phrase, the Board of Adjustment shall fix a reasonable time. So leave that alone, is that correct? And then at the last sentence, we would leave the current language of the board shall then decide the appeal within 45 days from the time of the hearing.
That's correct.
That's the amendment, and you
Yep.
second, is that someone seconded? Okay, are we ready to vote, or did you have a comment, Mr. Phil? Okay, all in favor of passing ordinance, well, we have to do a roll call vote, because
I
it's
think we gotta vote on the amendment first, right?
Yeah, so so the procedural posture here is Mr. Day has moved to amend the resolution. Days, Mr. Mataway has seconded that, so the question is on the amendment, which is a voice vote.
Okay, so all in favor of the amendment as just stated, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the amendment is adopted unanimously. And now we're ready to vote on the entire thing.
I'll make a motion that we pass ordinance number 562 as amended.
A second? Okay, would you call the roll, please, Ms. Weir? Or roll call vote, sorry.
Council President Suzanne Souter,
Yes.
Councilperson Andrew Zelt,
Yes.
Councilperson Joseph Day,
Yes.
Councilperson Nerman Zubaka,
Yes.
Councilperson Brian Mataway.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, the ordinance is adopted as amended. The next item is resolution 2026-15, a subdivision of addresses 6, 8, and 10 Arbutus Avenue, and Mr. Rogers is already in position to tell us about this.
Thank you, Madam President. What you have in front of you is a subdivision, as you stated. Just to give you some brief background, the 3 lots were originally subdivided in 2024. Building permits were issued for those 3 lots for duplexes on each of those lots. Those are 2 attached dwellings on 1 lot. This proposed subdivision is creating lots down the common walls of each of those duplexes, thus creating 6 semi-detached units. It was approved by the Planning Commission with conditions in January 2026. The applicant has addressed all of the conditions. There are no public improvements, and it's before you for your consideration by resolution.
Just one question, what was the benefit or why was it done, why is it being done after the fact?
I'm not sure. An applicant's representative is here if you. Mr. Montesi.
Actually here or go to the board meeting?
Probably with the mic, please, so everyone can hear you.
Hello, council people. So the original intent, as Mr. Rogers stated, was to have 3 multi-family homes on there. It was afterwards subdivided, on the board to be subdivided further into 6 individual, single-family homes, because that was more of a marketable standpoint, and from the builder of that, more desired for people within that area to have their own affordable single-family home instead of being having within a multifamily area. So it was a market decision, and it was something that was decided after the initial the 3 subdivisions of the original 1 lot.
So if they were built as duplexes, what was the ownership gonna look like beforehand? Before you were proposing this?
Before that, I believe that the 3 duplexes of multifamilies were going to be rented instead. And it was decided afterwards by the owner to have properties that were able to be owned instead.
Jeff, is there any difference in the building code for a duplex versus separate properties at all?
No, they've got 2-arm dividing walls between them.
Okay.
It's and for whatever reason, I can't help but thinking there wasn't something in his mind in the first place, because there's the speaker, and I assure you, they were 0.00 on the line. I never saw anything come out like this. The most discrepancy was a couple hundredths of a foot in one corner of one of the elevations of one of the foundations. So no matter what they say, this certainly must have been a thought before that, and they're fully compliant with it.
Okay. And Chris, the lots are completely in compliance with the zoning code, obviously, right?
Yes, I should have mentioned that duplexes were permitted in the R2. They were permissible duplexes on each lot, and the resulting lot sizes with the semi-detached units are also within the schedule of zoning regulations.
And perhaps what Mr. Day is speaking about is the demising wall is in fact chapliner. So it's not just the demising, the 2 1-hour walls that they would have had for a duplex. He's got actually
a chapliner,
a firewall. So
I seem to recall we did something like this sometime last year with some properties on Tremont Street, where there were existing houses that duplexes that had originally all been owned by the same person, and now they were being split up to be sold individually, and some of the divisions were down the common wall. Am I remembering correctly?
Yes, and some of those units were detached units too.
Right, there was a mixture in that area. It was more units.
I mean, these were just built a couple of years ago. Those were built
before there was any zoning.
Part of the
Right, the property. But in other words, this dividing the property down the common wall has been done before, was my main point.
Right, it doesn't happen a lot, but it's certainly been done before.
Are there any other questions for Mr. Rogers or Mr. Bergstrom or?
Well, I think I would like to echo what Mayor Leary is saying right now. That's the same question I have. What is the difference then? Isn't this a duplex that if they are sharing, well, why would it be single family? I'm sorry, I just wanted to ask that.
I don't have your code here. I call them duplexes when there's 2 units on 1 lot. And I believe your code calls them 2-family, multifamily.
I see.
Semi-detached.
Now they're semi-detached because the lot line is going down the middle of the common wall. It's the same unit, but each unit has its own lot now. It can be sold in fee simple separately. Thank you.
So,
I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say, so it makes it easier for a family to buy it because they only have to buy 1 unit, they don't have to buy 2.
Correct.
I love the fact of it being owned versus rented, but
If there's no other questions, I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2026-15.
All right, All in favor of approving resolution 2026-15? Aye. Any opposed? The resolution is adopted. I think he just needs to stay there because he's going to be doing the next ones. Okay, the next one is resolution 2026-16, which is a resolution approving the site plan for 427 West 7th Street, known as the Battery.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm going to give some background here. So this is a relatively large development that you've all heard about for several years now. So what is being proposed and what's in front of you is 152 apartment units with 2,040 square feet of retail space. This initially started with the consideration of a special exception for a multifamily use in the DG zone, which was approved by the Board of Adjustment on December 22nd, 2022. At that same meeting, the Board of Adjustment also approved 5 variances, which are listed on the site plan. Some had to do with parking, some had to do with decking, but we can get into those in more detail if you want to. I should have mentioned that prior to the Board of Adjustment consideration of the special exception, the special exception application and concept plan was reviewed by the Planning Commission, who made a favorable recommendation. The plan also, after the Planning Commission review, was sent to the State Plus for review, and that is the preliminary land use service. That is where developments over a certain threshold by state code have to be reviewed by Plus. Excuse me in the back.
Excuse us, if you'd like to talk, could you please go to the lobby so we can hear the speaker?
Yes, thank you. The Plus review is where all of the state agencies get together and make comments on the plan, and it's really a benefit to local municipalities where you get DENREC, Office of State Planning, DELDOT, different branches of DENREC, and they all make they give a detailed review of the plan, and that helps us at the local level understand what state requirements are needed, and also can inform our decisions at the local level. So that was done in October of 2022, and the Board of Adjustment had that information available to them when they made their decision regarding the special exception. The first Planning Commission review of the actual site plan occurred in October of 2022. And I believe, no, that was Plus, I'm sorry. The first Planning Commission review took place in November of 2023. And that meeting, the decision was tabled because additional information was required. The applicant came back in February of 2024, but again, more information was needed for the review, and that application was withdrawn. And on March 20th, 2024, the Planning Commission approved the site plan with conditions. And since that time, the applicant has been working with the various agencies to get those other agencies' approvals. When the Planning Commission reviews site plans, before, and I guess the time period, it seems like a long time, but before the Planning Commission grants site plan approval, we want to see that the applicant is fairly well along with the other agencies in their review. So by the time the Planning Commission grants the site plan approval in March of 2024, we knew that they had gone through several reviews at DELDOT. We knew that they had an application pending at FEMA, that it was going through a technical review. We knew that they were 85% done meeting stormwater management requirements with the Conservation District. And when the planning commission approved the site plan in March of 2024, they approved it with conditions that, prior to seeking your approval, that the applicant would have to demonstrate that they had, more or less 100% approval from all of the other agencies that are involved in land development projects in the city. DENREC, DELDOT, FEMA, because it's in the floodplain, Conservation District for stormwater, Newcastle County for sanitary sewer, the Municipal Services Commission for the provision of potable water, and fire service. Part of that process, one of the agencies that I didn't mention was the Corps of Engineers, because there's a little bit of disturbance to non-tidal wetlands in the back of the property. And during the permitting process with the Corps of Engineers, required an amendment to the permit application, which required an adjustment to the site plan. So the applicant came back and sought revised site plan approval by the Planning Commission, February of 2026, which was again granted with conditions by the Planning Commission. And the nature of those revisions had to do with sort of laying out the parking lot, the parking area on the first floor. So in order for them to be in front of you, they have submitted us a whole batch of information demonstrating that they have received approval from all of the various agencies and are ready for your consideration. The nature of the project is it's 4 stories. There will be fill brought into the site to bring it out of the floodplain. The first floor of the residential units are at elevation 12. The base flood elevation here is 10. The only thing that would be in the floodplain are some of the parking areas, but they meet all of the floodplain requirements as far as the city code goes. Antonina has it's very difficult to understand the nature of the site plan and the building, but Antonina has some renderings if you want to get a better feel for what the project will look like. And I want to say that this property is in the DG zone, and as part of the Planning Commission's review, the applicant had to address a whole slew of design standards that are embedded in the DG zoning requirements in our zoning ordinance. Regarding the building facade, we had long discussions about the nature of the retaining wall that wraps around that's seen from the road. The Planning Commission made sure that that had a certain finish to it. We didn't want raw brick or raw block being seen from the road. As you can see, the county pump station, which is another item on the agenda tonight, is sort of adjacent to this property. So that is looking into the site. Obviously, the county pump station is on the right, which is remaining at its current elevation. This project, as soon as you come off of, and the reason that the other item is on the agenda for the cross-access easement across the city's property, as you can see that as soon as they get onto the site, the elevation of the driveway rises to get out of the floodplain, thus cutting off access to the pump station from where they get to it right now. And right about where that building is where the liquor store is. We've been told by the applicant that the liquor store will be the retail space that's located on that first floor, which you see there right behind the battery side. As part of the DG zone does speak to improving the streetscape. So that's an older rendering because of a DelDOT requirement. They had to pull some of the retaining wall back. They didn't want any improvements associated with the development in the right of way or in the right of way that's being dedicated to DelDOT as a condition of the access permit. So the point is that the planning commission paid a lot of attention to what it's going to look like from the street as required by the BG zone.
Isn't there a utility pole right about here somewhere? On the sidewalk?
Do not know. If anybody, if there's anything that I can.
Is it the liquor store or something? Yeah, I think there's one right there.
Does that be relocated?
No.
So that rendering doesn't show the utility pole. Mr. Stoneberger, the representative from the development group is here. If I can't answer any questions. Thank you.
Can we go back to the previous rendering?
This, this one?
That one right there. So the only building that's really gonna be built though, at least that I see on this plan, is the one to the left. Right? I mean, you're looking straight ahead.
The pump station, there's a building over top of parking here. And it's all just. Okay.
Is the small white building we see to the right behind the, next to the trees, is that the pumping station?
Yes.
Okay.
So it's a combination of parking under the building and around in the middle of that complex, if you will, there's some uncovered parking.
Great, I saw that on the map.
So from behind the pump station, there's the building and parking underneath, and then the building takes a dog leg to the right. And then those parking spaces to the left of that are uncovered. And there is a retaining wall adjacent to proposed on the eastern side. The dark line yes, there's a retaining wall in the back. And the applicant worked with Mr. Bergstrom to make sure that there's adequate emergency access being provided to the rear of the building. And that sort of that dotted area between the marsh and the building, Antonina. Yes. That is that's raised with the retaining wall, and there's geotextile fabric and geogrid that can accommodate fire apparatus along the rear of the building.
You know, there's multiple easements. We talk about the TransPlus entry and scenario. They see the line is wrong to where I think their entrance is.
There is a there is an well, there's I was going to get that out on the subdivision next, but there is an easement being provided. That's the next item. There's 3 lots being created here from the parent parcel. It's probably better to talk about the easement for the pump station when we get to the subdivision. But there is that area in the back that's all tidal wetlands and marsh. That's its own lot. It's lot 1B to the right, Antonina, all of the open space.
Here.
Yes.
Is that the so-called orphan wetlands parcel we talked about like 2 years ago at an earlier visit of this? Okay.
So there's a blanket easement being provided across proposed lot 1A to get to that area in the back, for maintenance and if it ever needs it.
You mean the wetlands
The
need?
wetlands, yes.
Who's gonna own 1B?
It's going to retain an ownership with the property owner, with the current property owner. But it can be transferred, but we've been told that the current property owner is going to retain ownership.
What happens when he sells the rest of the complex? I mean, the whole point I thought was the orphan parcel was to avoid, cutting parcels off like this. And then, the company sells the main parcel and then the original company just goes out and then there's nobody owning this parcel. How does that work?
Well, somebody's always going to own it.
Well, until the company until a corporation goes to fund, and then it just sits in limbo.
We didn't, I don't think it's going to require, maintenance moving forward. It's tidal wetlands, tidal marsh. I'm sure it will be.
I sort of remember this when we discussed all this before, and it's been a while, so I may not be right, but after this issue came up with this property, we then passed an ordinance to prohibit the creation of further orphan parcels. However, since this one had been created prior to that ordinance, it wasn't covered by that ordinance. Is that right?
I don't remember the ordinance preventing orphan parcels.
Not just wetlands, but any kind of orphan parcels that are landlocked by other properties. Okay, like I said, my memory is, it's been a while, so the details are not very good.
Council President, may I add to that? My recollection from that conversation, which occurred a while ago, was not necessarily to disable that. Obviously, it could be wrong, but I remember distinctly thinking about, we need to ensure that this is maintained in perpetuity at the expense of the, owner. Not because we have heard in those meetings that after several years, after the initial money that's put into that, account to maintain, that pretty much then just becomes dormant and nobody really maintains it further, which I don't think council agreed should be the case. So I remember that discussion. I don't remember not allowing it all because there was some sort of financial liability that needed to be, split in, for the company to obtain all loan, but, I do think we were talking about perpetuity.
Can I read the old manuscript for my?
Yes, please.
I guess the real question though is, what's the need to split it off if it's on a separate parcel?
We've been told it's for financing reasons that the banks don't want to get the wetland parcels. But, that's what we've been told. Mr. Snowberg is here to provide more insight if you wish.
So, we can get to Mr. Schnumberger, but I just wanted to address this from the minutes when the ordinance was passed back in November 2024. It says Mr. Walton clarified several items. The purpose of the ordinance is to prevent the creation of orphan parcels that can become a burden to the city. Any project that has already been approved is exempt from the ordinance. If the ordinance is passed, there's still an ability to appeal through the Board of Adjustment. And to Mr. Walton's knowledge, the battery is the only project that is exempt from ordinance 548. And the amended ordinance was approved at that meeting.
And it's section 230-35A was the section you adopted to prevent this from happening in the future. And that now requires no lot may be created where the aggregate usable non-wetland area, whether title or non-title on the proposed lot, is less than 20% of the proposed lot.
Okay.
So your code now prohibits that. However, as Ms. Tantillo mentioned,
Because this project had already received its preliminary approval, it's not covered by that ordinance. So if those, for now, the developer who's building the apartments owns the wetlands too, and is responsible for their maintenance. But to Mr. Day's point, if it's sold in the future, they won't necessarily sell them together, right?
There's nothing on this plan that would prevent these parcels from being sold separately. We can't control that.
No, I know we can't.
And say that it's not gonna happen.
Can we do something to require that when the property is sold, provisions have to be made for this orphan wetland parcel, that it will be maintained? A fund, a trust fund set up or something to that effect? That's perhaps a question for Mr. Hoffman rather than you, Mr. Rogers.
Council can put conditions on the approval. The question always arises whether they are reasonable conditions. The first question there becomes the applicant's position on the condition. One option, if you wanted to explore that, if the applicant is not prepared to speak to it tonight, is to table and allow that conversation to happen.
Do you have any experience or knowledge, Mr. Rogers, of other wetland parcels? You say this should require very little maintenance, but very little maintenance not done over 20, 30, 40 years can still cause problems, right? Do you have any knowledge of any other similar parcels and what has happened to them? Not off the top of your head, perhaps.
But, they become phragmites.
Right.
That's an unmaintained.
Right.
Nice tidal wetland that has silted in over the years and it's become phragmites with its, wet soils. So there's, in my opinion, those types of parcels won't require that much maintenance, but I can't say nothing is going to be required
Forever. Yeah. Are you about to say something, Mr. Hoffman?
No, I don't know if the applicant has anything to speak to as to maintenance and position on the maintenance.
Thank you, Council, for having me. Rob Snowberger with Ninth Street Development Company. So some background on the purpose as to why. Obviously, when it comes to a wetlands parcel, the financing of a project like this doesn't take on the liability of what is an overgrown wetlands currently and is today and is not maintained other than letting the natural habitat grow. And so when this came up before, because there was no ordinance, that is why we created the easement, as Mr. Rogers mentioned, for access to the back parcel for not only maintenance if, in the future, hypothetically, if it needed it, the city has access to it and also can visualize it for finding the owner or not maintaining it. We still own the parcel as we do today. And if there's ever any, fines or anything that would come from the city saying you're not maintaining it, the owner, which is us, would have to comply with that fine and would have to do it. On another level, you also have the fact that the views of the river are a huge selling point for the property. So the fact that the view over that wetlands, which, we own a small piece of it, Delmarva Power owns the vast majority of it, and they don't perform regular maintenance in that wetland. So the fact that there is a hypothetical about, 10 years down the road or 20 years down the road, if it's not being maintained as of today and as of in the future, if we don't sell that parcel with the property, we will still own it. And if there are fines levied or anything that says you need to clean up your wetlands, we will be responsible because we're the owners. So that is, what was maintained originally when we went through this.
Right. So as long as you own it, there's somebody responsible, but your company is probably not going to exist in perpetuity. And so our question, I think, is what happens when your company no longer is in existence?
So I think that comes along with the maintenance of the views and the property owner that has an economic value in that property. If you have a parcel that needs to be maintained, you would do that. And I don't know for any property, whether it be a house that's abandoned, you'd have the same concern. Whoever owns it is always responsible for whatever would come of that.
So if you're saying that that wetland parcel adds value to the built parcel, the parcels with the buildings on them because of the view, why would not the wetlands parcel simply be sold with, tied to and sold with the rest of the property?
I certainly think that that would be the priority for whoever owns that building, which is going
But then why are we subdividing it?
because you can't.
Oh, the banking.
Yeah, you can't finance a parcel with wetlands. It's the reason that it took 2 years to get to FEMA, to the Army Corps of Engineers. It's a wetland, it changes.
Yeah.
Wetlands change, it's water, so it changes with time. And that's where, I don't know, but when originally this plot was made, perhaps it was more usable in that direction. But now it is wetland.
So I guess another question for Mr. Hoffman is, and I said before, could we require if it's sold, if the other property is sold, but the wetlands is not tied to it, we require a trust fund. Could we simply require that the parcel be sold with the rest, with the other two parcels? The wetlands parcel be sold with the other parcels if they're sold?
So unfortunately, I don't know the answer to that as I sit here. That's something that I would have to look into as to whether, the first question again is whether the applicant is opposed to that condition. If he's not opposed, then you can add that condition. If he is opposed, then we would have to take a closer look at that. I just don't know the answer to that as I sit here today.
I can't speak for the partnership in this meeting.
Right, not without discussing it with them, I understand.
Well, I can't speak, sorry, Council President, you. I can't speak on behalf of the council, I'll speak on behalf of myself. Thank you for, clarifying some of those things. It does make sense, given your view and position that you would maintain this area. And you also, our responsibility to the residents and to the city is to make sure that, given a change in leadership, and it may very well be your company that stays there. We have, ensured that this thing is taken care of and sold and, maintained if need be. So that's our concern. We're coming from a place where we just want to make sure this is thriving backyard of this property that, from an environmental standpoint, and there may never be any maintenance to it, but just, that's our point of view. So I know that's a frustration and you have gone through a couple of years of permitting, but that's just, what we want to avoid as a city.
Sounds like we're moving in the direction of tabling this pending research by Mr. Hoffman and Mr. Schober. Is it Schober?
Snowberger.
Snowberger.
Can I ask some questions in addition to this? On a cover sheet that we're provided, I don't know if it's visible, but the first cover sheet we have in our package, yeah, on the, and this is fine print, sorry guys. It states that the retail square footage is 2,928 square feet, but in our resolution, it states that it's 2,085 square feet. So I'm just trying to figure out which one is the correct number, and do we need to amend the resolution or amend the, why did I know there's been iterations of this, I'm just trying to get a sense of what that is. It's very fine print. It's honestly in the middle there, the sewer flow. It says retail 2,928 square footage to determine, gallon, Oh, there you go. Thank you for that. 16, second line.
I just swear, you have a really good eye.
My apologies to everybody for. It would be the front page. No. Okay, I see.
I believe the principal, I believe the principal note regarding the square footage of retail is note 1 on the site data on sheet EC03. That note,
number 1,
that note was for the purposes of addressing Newcastle County's sewer, and there may have been revisions to the plan. So that's just, and a leftover note from when they must have first started the process and trying to estimate the amount of sewer usage. So the correct retail space is stated in note number 1, purpose of this plan under site data on sheet C03. So it is 2085.
Thank you. Right there, I do see 5,121 square feet for amenities. That was my next question. In the resolution, it states 2,085 square feet for retail space and other associated amenities. That was, and my understanding was that those are separate things, from learning from Garrison, process. And either one of you can answer. Just wanted to know if language in resolution needs to be amended, or there is a amenities included in this 2,085 square feet within the retail space.
So the intent of that and additional amenities is not associated with the retail space. I believe it's associated with amenities for the residents of the apartment units.
Okay, thank you. And for this zoning, if you don't know the answer, that's totally fine. I haven't checked the code myself, but in process of Garrison, I learned that the gym that was added in the front page as an amenity was counted as under retail space, which was a point of public comment that was brought up in the meeting. So I guess what I'm trying to see is what is based on the square footage of roughly 41,000 square feet, what is it supposed to be minimum for this zoning's retail space? And I say that because the downtown gateway is supposed to, kind of open up provide that mixed use so that we have, both retail space and welcoming people to new experiences.
There's no minimum retail required in the DG zone. So, there's no minimum requirement.
Do you remember the comment that I'm talking about then about gym being in a retail space? Is it something about front windows requirement or something? Because I distinctly remember that indoor gym being up front was an issue with Garrison at the time.
There were some.
I know this is a decade.
No, I'm afraid it's gonna get confusing. The DG zone language has some inconsistent language embedded in it, in that there is a density cap. There's a higher density permitted if it's mixed use. And there was a question that, and the Garrison was before my time, but I think my company was involved in the review of it, that the Garrison threw in some token retail space on the plan to obtain a higher density. And then that retail space did not evolve immediately as retail space. And I guess it became a gym. It's retail looking now with the, whatever you would call that, food establishment. In this case, the applicant received a variance from the Board of Adjustment for the higher density that made that provision sort of moot, or making sure that it was actually going to be retail space moot. And we've been told that the owner, that the liquor store is going to be in that space. Can we control that forever and ever? No, but that space is there for, to make this a truly mixed use, building.
Understood. My last question is, from the slides and presentation, liquor store is that would be the entire space of 22,000 square feet currently, right? That's the only retail space currently planned.
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you, guys.
So is the 2,085 square feet of retail in the resolution correct?
Yes.
And so that's on that CO3?
Yes.
I haven't been able to find it with the tiny print, but I'll take it. There it is.
51. One for the,
Okay. So that issue is resolved, because the other, I understand, if it was an estimate to estimate how much water would be discharged for sewer planning purposes.
16 is still 29, 28 there, so like on that same page. I don't know why.
If I can ask my original question earlier about the Trans Plus area, we went to the back of the building, yeah, we go back towards the front of the Trans Plus, and you understand the access getting into the back of that building.
I'm not, I guess.
I think we would have on record for that.
Yeah, certainly, thank you. So this is to address, I'm sorry.
I said I'm sorry.
Yes, so, so the answer is, it is not an issue, and I can demonstrate that here, both functionally and legally. But we can, zoom in, I don't know if you can, on that knuckle, yeah, yep. Yep. So that is the, So that is where the confusion was the fact that the property line is shown as that straight line. But that is not, that is, yep, and so that's the current property line as it is today. As you can see, back when this parcel was created, that property line goes into the center of a garage overhead door. And then you can see a man door listed there or shown there. So as of today, when when anyone goes through that door, they're entering onto our property and half of that garage door. So that is the confusion was that property line was where we're building the wall, which is incorrect. The wall is shown as that curved portion, which was specifically designed to maintain that access to the garage door and the man door. So that was a design consideration that was taken into account a while ago, and also signed off on by Anthony Camacorta on a cross-access easement that has been signed in July.
So that is a permanent easement there for that situation, so it won't be blocked ever in the future.
That's not a permanent easement. We're certainly willing to grant it. It's not an issue for us to grant an easement to that door. It doesn't exist today, but we don't have an issue with granting that. We designed it specifically so that the door could be used.
Understood, that's great, but that's today, what happens in the future?
I don't know why it doesn't exist today either, but they're using the door without the easement currently.
So can we get how do we get an easement added into that?
Because this other property with the lighter line, that's Trans Plus and the other buildings, and that's not part of the property.
Correct. As I understand, Trans Plus is the tenant in that building. And when she was looking at the plan, she thought that the wall was going to be blocking the door, which it's not.
Okay, so but in other words, the city's not involved in that easement, that's between the two property owners.
Correct. And we have a signed agreement with the Camacortas for.
And they are the property owners of Trans Plus.
Yes.
So that's already been dealt with.
It's already been dealt with and designed. It was a.
Some walls change elevations. You're putting that wall in, it's gonna change your elevations from their property to their conduit, right?
Correct, yes. Yes.
Okay, so that issue is resolved.
Well, I just have a few more questions. I look at site plans a lot, and I can't imagine looking at this for the first time for somebody that wasn't. Generally, when I see a site plan, I see the footprint of the buildings, stories, square footage, maybe square foot per square foot. Then looking at this, it's almost kind of deceiving, me trying to figure it all out. But I just want to make sure I'm on the same page. So we're gonna have parking on the ground floor on both of these units.
Right.
On both of these separate buildings, right?
Yes, and then some other parking, not under the building.
That's right. And then we're gonna have, over the parking, we're gonna have another 4 stories. Is that correct?
3.
3 stories for both buildings. Okay.
Yes.
And then the building that doesn't have parking under it is a 4-story building? Somebody mentioned 4 stories.
It's 4 stories if you count the podium, so parking and retail space is on the ground floor, and then 3 stories of residential above. For both.
All the residential has parking below.
Correct.
Except for in the front where the liquor store.
And the elevator lobby and the other. And the event, that part of the event space in the back. So the question about the gym in the front, the amenity space where the gym is designed is in the back building as it is now, so. I don't know what the issue with the garrison was, but that's not.
I understand what you're saying, Councilman Day. We had the luxury of having the renderings sort of along the,
Well, when you look at it, I mean, you see all the parking, but it's really hard to see the building outside, the square footage of the buildings. But in going through that, Chris, can you explain the need for the different ordinances to we can work through this? We got 3 different ordinances on this tonight, right? 16, 17, and 18?
Yeah, the second,
Resolutions, I'm sorry.
the second resolution is the subdivision.
Can I just ask one question while we're at the
Yeah,
building?
go ahead.
So just from my understanding, this is just a parking here, right, in the back? Or is that a building also that's, and parking underneath? Because it's not like, I realize this is a building here with it, what we're seeing in rendering, but is this also a building or just parking?
Do you see the straight line that goes across the center of that second row?
Yep.
That's the building house.
So building
That's open air.
one, okay, so this is building
Correct,
here,
yeah.
building, okay, got it.
And as we had submitted 3D rendering from the top showing both buildings as a part of our site approval, we had submitted.
Council President, can I ask one more quick one?
Go ahead, go ahead.
I see here and here parking lots for people with disabilities. Or is there a reason why there's not one here under this?
Because those are the entrances to the building, so they need to be closest to
Okay,
the
got it.
elevator lobbies.
And is this the entrance here?
No, that's
Oh,
utility.
this is,
Yep,
got it.
those are the trans.
Thank you, appreciate it. Thanks, Council. Thank you.
The reasons for the 3 resolutions is the first resolution is for the site plan, the second resolution is for the subdivision plan. And the third resolution is related because they are, as a result of this development project, they are cutting off what has been accessed by the county to the pump station, even though, the county does have an easement. Do they have an easement across the property now? So, yeah.
Chris, I'll help you out there. So council granted an easement across the city parcel to the pump station, but it was a specifically delineated easement. The county has requested a blanket easement across the whole parcel, and the county has set requirements in terms of the developer constructing the driveway to certain specifications, making certain landscaping improvements. And so the easement that the city granted previously is proposed to be amended, as you see in your packet here. So that resolution approves the amended easement to match and what the county is requiring for access to the pump station.
Can you tell us why did we prescribe only certain part of it? Was it landscaping issue or do you remember that?
That was before my time in particular, but
don't think that the county had requested.
So we just prove what was requested at the time? Is that?
Here's a quick question on the parking, the retail space. Where are they parking? Are they coming into the main entrance and then have to park underneath to get to the store?
I don't believe there's any special parking set aside for the retail.
So they can end up parking on that easement road right there and causing issues.
Where parking where?
Well, there's looks like an emergency access road on the other side there. I think people are gonna end up start parking there to get to the retail. That's gonna cause issues.
I don't I don't believe so. Can you go back to one of the renderings?
Yeah, it's easier to see.
Yeah, I believe another one that shows sort of the left side, right there. I would hope not.
Well, where we see the cars on the far left side of that rendering, is that part of the parking?
No, that's the Gamma Corda sites.
So that's not your property?
That's not this project. That retaining wall to the left of that emergency access is part of this project.
Oh, and where I see it looks like stripes drawn between the retaining wall and the cars. That's the emergency access.
Yes.
So, yeah, I agree. Do you envision that the parking spaces under the buildings will be designated, this one's for apartment 1, this one's for apartment 2, and so forth?
Some spaces will be designated, but not all.
So some will be available for the retail customers,
Correct, yes.
if they happen to be vacant when the customers come.
Just correct. We wanted to make retail a part of the project. It wasn't a requirement. The current liquor store owner is also the owner of the parcel today and wants to put the store back in there.
Right.
And so to comply with, in the spirit of EG wanting ground floor retail, we wanted to keep that component in there. And you'll see that one of the parking variances we received was for the minimum parking required for retail because the site is constrained. And so that was one of the variances that was granted.
I mean, I agree, it's not the type of retail store where people go in and spend an hour. They go in, they buy what they want, and they leave. So cars that tend not to stay there for a long time. It's not like browsing in a clothing store or something.
Madam President, it works very well and it's quite similar at the Garrett Center right next door. There's a limited number of parking spaces that the Board of Adjustment considered that they had to have, and they'd be designated near there. The handicap spaces are available for anybody, and then a little bit farther away are a couple spaces where people come and go. If you look at the parking at the existing liquor store, you'll find out their parking requirements are very minimal.
Right, I know there's not very many spaces there beside the current liquor store. Thank you.
Jeff, just a quick question about Garrison there. When I go to Garrison Deli, I feel, so correct me if I'm wrong, I do see a couple signs, 1 or 2 signs for designated for retail for, I don't know, short-term parking. Is that what you're saying would be replicated at Battery as well?
Yes.
Okay, all right, I think that's, well, obviously, right now, the parking isn't a big issue, but if that is ever to change from liquor store to restaurant, then, this is a valid conversation.
Right, but if the Board of Adjustment's already granted the variance for that, that's sort of out of our hands at this point, right?
That's correct. I mean, they are showing code compliant parking with the variance, and so that's not a question here today.
So the remaining question that I understand we all have tonight is what happens to this orphan wetlands parcel? And we want to know what the options are for dealing with that to protect it when the current owner's company no longer exists at some point in the future. It could be sold to someone else, it could disintegrate, who knows? Lots of things happen to companies. Yes, Mr. Bergstrom?
I hate to say something out of line, but the project is code compliant right now. You're gonna stop the project to change the code that strikes me as maybe a little unfair.
Would the suggestions about either requiring a trust fund or requiring that it be sold with the property, was that changing the code? Sort of.
But this is a tiny portion of the Gamma Quarter Marsh, which we haven't spent anything appreciable on for at least 100 years since we sold the gas company. So I think that.
And Mr. Snowberger said most of that's now owned by Delmarva?
No, the part right behind it is, but it goes, there's quite a bit of marsh, a lot of it's Garrison property. Delmarva owns some, the trust owns a bunch. It's, we're covered with hundreds and hundreds of acres of wetland. And our expenses, if you look on your budget line, you won't find very many for maintaining the wetlands. I think this is So you're trying to get the first guy that's got the smallest piece of.
No, I'm not trying to,
I'm
I mean,
sorry.
I know this thing's been going on for a long time and they've jumped through lots of hoops. It's just, don't like thinking of this parcel in 40 years, 50 years from now causing problems. And I don't know what legal recourse we have to try to deal with that, or are we pretty much stuck because they comply with current code?
Your option, you can put reasonable conditions on your approvals. The question that has been raised is whether that would be a reasonable condition, and I can't unfortunately answer that question without looking into it. But as far as when plans come before council on site plans, you can send it back to the planning commission no more than twice. On subdivisions, which is where the wetlands piece is, you can place reasonable conditions. You cannot say no to a code compliant plan, but you can place reasonable conditions. And again, unfortunately, I can't speak to whether it is a reasonable condition without looking into it, and unless the applicant has a position on that question here tonight.
Which he said he cannot speak for his whole group. So, do we want to table this for a month to give Mr. Hoffman the opportunity to do the research as to whether we may legally impose this condition if it would be considered reasonable? If his determination is that we cannot, then we're sort of required to pass it because it's code compliant. Is that accurate?
That's correct. I mean, if it is not a reasonable condition, if you can't place that condition and it otherwise meets the code, then it is in front of council for a ministerial review.
Chris, can you walk us through the exhibit for the pump house access?
What are you looking at, Councilperson Day? Can you tell us?
The exhibit for the pump house access, it's in resolution 26-18, the exhibit for that. Thank you. You didn't get there.
Yeah, the applicant this is a function of the subdivision plan. This is the exhibit, yeah, okay, it's the exhibit to these. So this is just showing the parcel that the city owns and the parcel that's being created by the subdivision plan lot parcel 1C. And the across the blanket easement is being provided across the currently owned parcel that's currently owned by the city to parcel 1C, so the county can get access to the pump station.
Okay, so I see the proposed paving for city parcel pavement section detail, right?
Yes.
So the applicant's putting that in with the depressed curve there?
That's my understanding, yes.
Okay, and so the county asked for a blanket easement across all the paved area, I'm assuming here, and I see that there's a Del-Dot easement here as well.
The blanket easement is across your entire parcel. There, I took a look at the as-built plans of the pump station, and the city's parcel is completely encumbered by, there's a couple gravity lines there. There's an electric line, there's obviously a force main going out. I should have brought the exhibit, but there's at least 4 pipes to and from the pump station that cross the city's parcel there.
Council, there's also an open question on the easement, question of the applicant. Has the county confirmed whether the condition is building permit or code or certificate of occupancy? Did you get that feedback?
No, so what happened, what Mr. Hoffman's referring to is today, the county came back and said that they wanted, first of all, landscaping that they were originally supposed to put in. They didn't want to, we said that we would put it in, so that was already agreed to. We asked them that they would repair it if they damaged it, and they said they would not. So we will now be repairing any landscaping that they damaged that we put in that they were originally supposed to put in themselves and didn't. Second thing that they said was that they wanted us to build their new access before applying for building permits to the city. And I said that is an extreme overreach. We have a current access agreement that is in existence today, and we are required to maintain that access until such a time as the new one is built. And us pulling permits to begin work on a project that has been here for 5 years, to do any number of things that need to get done and started, was an overreach. And we have stood back. How about we propose, instead of applying for building permit, that we would make sure that this was in place before applying for certificate of occupancy. And the reason that we think that is reasonable is because, one, they already have an agreement with us to provide access, and that is not disturbed. We have to maintain that. It doesn't change just because we pull building permits and have other things to build. And we think that by putting it on the certificate of occupancy, what that basically says is we can't put this project into service without ensuring that that new road is built. And seemingly the response back was, it sounds reasonable, but I won't be able to answer tonight. So that all happened today. So our hopeful request was that it would be considered with those, what you guys want to do.
Yeah, and again, this kind of falls in the camp of this is a county thing and not the city thing, but from the city's perspective, we are going with what the county wants. So my recommendation is, should you choose to take action tonight, then there would be a voice amendment to the resolution on the easement that would tie the requirement to whatever the county requires. If the county is okay with CO, it's CO. If the county is requiring building permit, it's building permit. I have that available for council. But again, that's if you were moving forward tonight. I would recommend that it be tied to what the county would like that to be.
We now have really two issues that we could table this for: the research about the reasonableness of tying the orphan wetland parcel to the other parcels, and the issue of the county's final approval of the easement. Is that correct?
Those are the two issues as I understand it.
Yes. Okay, any further discussion or questions from council?
Just a comment, if we do move tonight to, well, either way, just to amend the square footage for retail space, last whereas on the page, or first amended and restated cross access and maintenance easement agreement, it's 2040, so it's a different number there. But just to amend it to 20.
Which resolution are you talking about?
The easement agreement.
2618?
I don't see resolution here, it's just that under easement, let me see what. Go back.
That's the easement,
Yeah,
18.
2016-18, but if you go back to the agreement of your package, right before the maps.
Of the old agreement?
No, the new 2026, the new agreement was signed. That would be the new easement. You see that? Just a technical note. I'm sure, I think it was copied from old agreement. I see 2040 in there.
What page are you on?
First page of that, first amended.
So you have the resolution and you have the.
Right, I see that.
And the new one, and the last reference. That's the old one, for the new contract. Couple pages.
Oh, I thought you said first page.
No, of the new ones, there's the new one that's blank on the page.
Oh, first amendment. Oh, okay. So it's 2080 instead of.
2085, and that is a that's an easy change.
Okay. All right. Is there a motion to do something, to either table this for the two reasons I gave, or does somebody want to make a motion to approve one of these things?
I just want to revisit the orphan parcel. So in retrospect, I thought we initiated the orphan parcel regulation to prevent this from happening, and I thought it was before this. You know what I mean? I did not realized that it didn't apply to this subdivision. I thought that was exactly the reason we did this, was so that this didn't happen. I apologize for the confusion there. So with that said, it looks like this plan is compliant. So. Is that right, Mike?
It is a code compliant plan as presented.
Yeah, to me, the outcome I could easily vote to that is, obviously I know that you're advising that we cannot do that, is, ensuring that any future sale of the, property in the back would be, attached to that sale. And everything else, even that, it makes sense because I understand the, application time, so.
Just to clarify for everybody's understanding, the question of whether it as presented complies with the code. It's gone through the planning commission, it's gone through building review, everybody has verified that it complies with the code. When it comes to you in that form, your opportunity is to ask questions, confirm that is true. Is it code compliant? If you're satisfied that it is code compliant, then your next question is are there any conditions you want to place? And so the question that has been presented is not whether it's code compliant, but whether there are conditions that are warranted. And the one condition that is raised, I can't offer advice without looking into it. I would have to look into the question of, is it a reasonable condition to tie the wetlands parcel to the apartment parcel to ensure future maintenance? I would have to look into that question. But as presented and as subdivided, it does meet code.
May I, Madam President, one more comment? Thank you. So we've been at this for a very long time, and any decision like this, or perhaps a condition that might seem reasonable to council, would then need to go back through lots of different hoops, including federal agencies, Army Corps of Engineers, people who've already looked at this plan and provided input to the project. I can't confirm all of them that would need to see this or be impacted by it, but I'm very confident that if there was a condition placed similar to this, that it would create another extreme delay. And we are, I think one of the things that perhaps didn't make it to council, but it did make it to planning commission, was one of the things that we did in the project bore the cost of was when the Gamma Quarter Dike was built, the FEMA mapping was not done in accordance with that mapping. So we actually the project paid to remap the whole area to account for the Army Corps of Engineers and FEMA dike that was built. That is a project at a cost and a year of time that we bore that impacted positively the whole area. So basically the dike was built, but the FEMA maps and the flood maps didn't reflect the goodness of that dike that was paid for by the federal government and the local municipalities. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that we did address this issue a long time ago. That's why we created the access easement for the city to access that. We made a site plan change to accommodate for that. That way, either maintenance could be done and billed, or fines could be levied, as well as emergency access in case of a fire back there. So when it comes to this parcel, as Mr. Bergstrom said, property owners and wetlands are dealt with in similar fashion, perhaps different than a orphaned parcel that is on a public street that creates a nuisance, et cetera. Wetlands is a little bit different, and I would hope that that would be considered because wetlands are, as Mr. Rogers said, essentially growth phragmites, and that is a natural wetland. So I would hope or implore that maybe this could be approved, because we are desperately in need of getting to start here. We have been at this for very long, and anything that moves on one side goes to the others. And all of the agencies that we've worked with and coordinated with and changed the site plan and then gone back to everyone to make sure they're okay with that change and this change, it is a lot.
no, I think the battery just ran.
I think my point is.
So what is the will of council?
Just to say something out of turn.
I'm sorry, Mr. Gross, public comments are over.
The trustees didn't want to be involved with that open.
Public comments are over.
Just consider all the facts.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2026-16.
Is there a second? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so that's 4 in favor and 1 abstention, is that correct? Okay, the resolution is adopted. Resolution 2026-17, which we've already really discussed. Oh, this is the subdivision to make the 3 separate parcels.
Yes, and just by way of background, this essentially followed the same route at the planning commission level. When the site plan was being considered, the companion subdivision plan was also being considered. And this too was approved by the planning commission at all of those sort of benchmark dates, including the revised site plan date. The revised subdivision was approved by the planning commission at the February 2nd, 2026 meeting.
Just one comment on that too, Councilman Mataway made earlier about planning commission unanimously voting for something and council hearing them. I just wanted to note that both the subdivision and the site plan were unanimously voted for by planning commission, including on the subdivision by a roll call vote, unanimous.
Thank you. So any further discussion on this resolution?
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2026-17.
Is there a second? Second? So what happens if this one doesn't move forward?
Oh, I thought you said second.
Is there a second? Okay, sorry. No, I'm not allowed to, I don't.
That's correct. I was listening to the second as well.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to approve resolution 2026-17 as presented to us. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Another abstention. So again, we have 4 in favor, 1 abstention. And finally, there's the one about the easement with the issue of the county not yet approving it. If we pass it and the county never approves it, then what happens?
So what I would recommend is if council would like to proceed, that we amend, the resolution. I'd be happy to, by adding, language at the end of it, happy to read this now. My recommendation would be that at the end of, the last condition, which ends before obtaining any certificate of occupancy for the project from the city, comma, that you add the following. Unless Newcastle County requires confirmation prior to any building permit being issued, at which point confirmation will be required prior to any building permit being issued by the city for the project, and the associated language in the first amended and restated cross-access and maintenance easement will be amended accordingly. And
So are these amendments to the agreement itself or to the resolution?
this would be language to the resolution, which incorporates the easement itself. I did run this by counsel for the applicant, and he did not have any objection. And if you want to make that amendment, you can say so moved.
So moved. Second.
Okay, so all in favor of resolution 2026 as amended?
You have to handle the amendment first.
Oh, sorry. All in favor of adopting the amendment as read to us by Mr. Hoffman? Aye. All in favor, aye. Opposed? No opposed. Okay. All right, now, all in favor of resolution 2020, is there a motion to approve resolution 2026-18 as amended?
So moved. Second.
Okay, all in favor of resolution 2026-18? Aye. Of any opposed? Okay.
Thank you very much, council. I really appreciate it. It's a very long road and,
Yeah.
lots of folks spent time working on it.
The last two should be fairly quick. Resolution 2026-20 is a resolution to confirm the mayor's reappointment of Jackie Metz to the Board of Health. Is there a motion? Ms. Metz has been serving on the Board of Health. I'm not sure if she's a nurse, but she has some health-related qualifications, willing to serve again another term. Is there a motion to approve this resolution? Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. And then the last, it's the last one. The last item on the agenda is a first reading of ordinance 563, which is an ordinance to amend the City of Newcastle Municipal Code, Chapter 140, Housing and Property Maintenance, to allow for the temporary use of dumpsters in a residential district. So I will read the ordinance and then we will have a public hearing and discussion, et cetera, next month. Whereas the Council of the City of Newcastle possesses the authority to adopt, amend, modify, or repeal the City of Newcastle's municipal code, city code. And whereas the current code of the City of Newcastle does not address the use of dumpsters in residential areas, and council wishes to clarify their use. And whereas City Council recognizes that property owners within residential districts may need to utilize dumpsters from time to time for matters related to trash and construction. Whereas by the adoption of this ordinance, the City Council intends to amend and restate Chapter 140, Section 19, accumulation of trash of the City Housing Code and City Code Housing and Property Maintenance. Whereas the City Council finds that the provisions of this ordinance are rationally and reasonably related to, substantially advanced, and are narrowly tailored to achieve its goal of protecting and preserving the legitimate governmental interests, including but not limited to the protection and preservation of the public health, safety, prosperity, general welfare, and the quality of life. Now therefore making the express finding that the proposed changes outlined below enhance the health, safety, and welfare of the City of Newcastle, be it ordained by the Council of the City of Newcastle as follows. Section 1. City Code, Chapter 140, Housing and Property Maintenance, Section 104-19, Accumulations of Trash, is hereby amended as follows, with new language identified by bold underlined text. A, no person being the owner of or possessor of a developed or undeveloped parcel of land shall permit refuse, rubbish, trash, or other waste material to be placed or to accumulate upon such parcel or right-of-way abutting such parcel, so as to create a nuisance detrimental to the adjoining property or to the health and safety of other persons. And at B, an outdoor trash compactor used for the collection of garbage, refuse, trash, rubbish, and other waste shall be maintained in such a manner so as not to create a nuisance detrimental to the adjoining property or to the health or safety of other persons. Trash compactors shall, if necessary, be equipped with facilities for deodorizing, sanitation, and disinfecting. Trash compactors shall be maintained and shall be emptied so as to avoid accumulation of odors and the attraction of rats, mice, or other vermin. C, dumpsters and/or roll-off containers, collectively containers, for the purpose of trash collection, remodeling, cleaning up of debris, etc., in a residential area noted in the city's comprehensive plan, R1A, R2, and R3, are permitted by the city for a stated period of time not to exceed 30 days, with the opportunity to extend an additional 30 days. Such dumpsters or roll-off containers are subject to the following limitations. Dumpsters and/or roll-off containers must be placed in an area which does not impede the flow of pedestrians or motor vehicle traffic. Containers may be placed on the shoulder of a roadway only where 1, no portion of the container protrudes onto the travel portion of the roadway, and 2, no portion of the container sits directly in front of a neighboring property unless such neighbor consents. Where containers are placed in front of a property, they shall be placed on hard concrete or asphalt surface, or if unavailable, soft surfaces shall be covered with sufficient plywood or other hard material to prevent excessive disturbance of the earth underneath the container. The location shall not affect the health, safety, and/or welfare of the neighborhood in accordance with Chapter 140, Housing and Property Maintenance, or Chapter 230, Zoning of the City of Newcastle Code. 2, footings for the dumpster are to be sufficient as to prevent damage to the public asphalt or ground the dumpster is placed on. Footings are, for example, plywood or other sufficiently durable material. 3, no dumpster shall be overfilled and shall be removed and replaced if filled prior to the end of the permitted period and permanently removed at the end of the permitted period. 4, every dumpster container shall conform to all local, state, and federal specifications. 5, fees for dumpster permits shall mirror the fees for temporary storage units as found in section 140-15 and is updated from time to time with the fee for a permit obtained in advance of the unit being placed being the initial fee, and the fee for a permit obtained after the placement of the unit being the fee for obtaining a 30-day extension of the initial permit. 6, definitions. Dumpsters are to be defined as, quote, a steel container with a capacity of not less than 2 cubic yards or more than 9 cubic yards, designated to facilitate collection services either by hydraulic lift or cable winch pull-off mechanism. B, roll-off container is to be defined as, quote, a large metal container, i.e. typically with a capacity of 10, 20, 30, or 40 cubic yards, used for the collection of solid waste, which is rolled off of a motor vehicle when the container is placed at a site, and then rolled onto the vehicle when the container is ready to be transported to another location. All right, is there a motion to adjourn to executive session? Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you all.
See you tomorrow.
Thank you.